1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
We're going to help the Raiders today. Welcome to the show. Free of charge.
Yeah, good
You get
luck.
access to these two brains.
Not mine. I can't help the helpless, Maggie.
Oh, come on.
You get one brain.
We love a reclamation project, and that's basically what the Raiders kind of feel like. They're standing at the precipice now after firing Antonio Pierce yesterday. They keep Tom Telesco, the general manager, so I know Raider fans probably groaned about that because he's the guy who had you going into the season with a combination of Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell, and Desmond Ridder and thought you were going to compete in the AFC West.
He's the guy who hired Brandon Staley with the Chargers. You could go on and on about Tom Telesco. That's not the problem. There's so many problems. That's why I'm saying I'm not involved in this renovation project because there are certain houses that can't be renovated, Maggie.
That's not true. And you watch so many renovation shows, you know we can turn this thing into beachfront property, and it's only going to take a few simple moves here.
Oh, man.
Listen to my 3-point plan for how to get the Raiders back in action and back up to speed because, to be honest, this is a fan base that deserves it. They are a historic franchise. The NFL is better when the Raiders are good. It's in Vegas. You know, there's so many things where, yeah, maybe ownership doesn't deserve to have a winner because I don't think they've done a lot to help themselves, but the fans do. So let's help the fans, Perloff. Try to, be a little generous this morning. Now, a couple things that I think are going and working in the Raiders' favor. Number one, you do have access to Tom Brady now. Mm-hmm. Now, is Tom Brady the next John Elway where he's not going to be able to really pick a quarterback, find a quarterback, and it's going to be more disappointing than not considering his stature as a QB? It's possible, but we don't have the evidence of it yet. We don't have evidence of anything.
Right.
Brady's a clean slate. So as far as his evaluation of head coach and quarterback, I'm all ears.
Wait. But one thing, we do have evidence. The NFL's been around for 102 years. Has there ever been a former player turned color analyst / partial owner who's ever helped a team?
Well, there's been former players who have been really good as GMs, like Ozzie Newsome.
Okay, Ozzie Newsome. Tom Brady's going to be Ozzie. First of all, Ozzie Newsome didn't have 4 other jobs like Tom Brady. And Ozzie, he's not Ozzie Newsome. Ozzie Newsome was out there grinding tape at the Bowling Green tight end for 24 hours a day. Brady's not going to do all that, but go ahead.
Okay, but what did Ozzie Newsome do, who was a great player?
He was a sick drafter.
Well, he was a great drafter. And as a GM of the Ravens, what did he really do? What did Ozzie Newsome really know, besides, obviously, deep knowledge of football? Toughness. That's what the Ravens had. It was you had to be a certain type of person to play for the Ravens. And that's true. I'm right about this. And yeah, it was about the evaluation and it's about the technique and stuff like that. No. It was also about a certain type of toughness and a certain type of guy.
I
hiring
agree.
John Harbaugh was seeing something in somebody that ended up becoming one of the biggest and best hires that the Ravens ever made. So that's where I'm going to go with Tom Brady here, who is a minority owner for the Raiders, and somebody who, until proven otherwise, I'm going to give the 7-time Super Bowl champ, who was pick 199, who became the greatest quarterback of all time, I'm going to give him a little benefit of the doubt here. I'm going to let him prove me wrong that he doesn't know how to pick a coach or help out with a quarterback evaluation. I'm gonna let him fail before I pile on Tom Brady and say he's going to be worthless here. I think he's going to be worth a lot.
Yeah.
And what I would say is, first, let's tackle the quarterback side of this. They have a couple options here. There's a couple good options. There is a Shedeur Sanders world here, Perloff, where if I'm Dion and I've already put it out there that there are teams I'm not letting Shedeur go to. Well, you know what? The Cleveland Browns check a lot of those boxes. I'd stand in front of a speeding train before I'd let my kid go get entangled in that mess with Deshaun Watson, whatever his future is going to be, and then go into Cleveland, a place where quarterbacks go to die. And even when they had a good quarterback, they didn't even know it. They had Baker Mayfield, and they ran him out of town for Deshaun Watson, and now that's been a disaster. So, to me, if I'm Dion, no way. I'm pulling the Archie Manning. I'm not letting my son go there, and I'm going to steer him to Las Vegas, where Shedeur and Tom Brady have a relationship. Tom Brady's been his biggest mentor.
No.
Okay.
That could be option number one.
Great. Let's say you do get Shedeur Sanders and you mortgage your draft future for that.
Okay, but listen, if I'm Cleveland, I'm doing it because I need draft capital because I still have to pay Deshaun Watson all this money. And you want to know what? Mortgaging the future to get a quarterback is going to be something nobody remembers if Shedeur pans out.
How is Shedeur going to pan out with that team around him?
Well, you are going to need the rising tide of Shedeur. You're going to need the advice of Tom Brady, the mentorship, and then obviously you've got to hire the right guy. And to me, I don't know if a Patriots assistant, that is not the route that I would go here. You can't bring another guy from the Patriots into the building. Josh McDaniels didn't work. I hate painting with a broad brush because all these guys are their own guys, but it's not going to work unless the one guy I could see them bringing in from the Patriots tree, who's the guy who's had the most success of any Patriots assistant, is Bill O'Brien. I think Bill O'Brien can actually develop a quarterback. Bill O'Brien is responsible, or partly responsible, for Deshaun Watson's best years.
Or Deshaun Watson was partly responsible for keeping Bill O'Brien employed because he was not a good coach who got saved by his quarterback in about 50% of his games.
Well, what's happened to Deshaun Watson since?
What's happened to Bill O'Brien since?
Okay, he's coaching now at Boston College. He's available. He's available.
He hasn't done anything since Deshaun left. Like, he's not a good coach either.
Well, you don't know that. He has the best record of any of the Belichick assistants. He was a perennial playoff contender.
So wait. You said I don't want to bring in any of the former assistants, so you're going to go for...
That would be the only one.
You're going to bring in Bill O'Brien with Shedeur Sanders. Oh, my God. What's the upside? Maybe you'll make that first wild card game on a Saturday?
They would love to be in that game. The Raiders would kill to be in the playoffs.
The Raiders were 13-3 like 5 years ago when Derek Carr was a rookie. Or
how long? Perloff, we're talking about the early aughts.
No. That was like 2017 or 16. What year was that?
Well, when the Rich Bisaccia, when they had to basically, Brandon Staley blew it and the team should have tied.
Am I getting senile here? What year was Derek Carr's rookie year?
It's a long time ago.
5 years ago was 2020, Perloff.
I mean, we're going back to Derek Carr's rookie year.
And then Mike McGloin had...
Holy cow.
2016, they won 13.
Yeah, 2016. Is that what I said?
Okay, but we're closing in on a decade.
That's 10 years ago. Almost 10. It's not. We're 9 years ago.
That's insane. They'd love to be in that game. And by the way, I don't think they ever would be in that game because the Raiders are such a draw that they would not get the JV game on a Saturday on a Saturday wild card game.
I think they got there the last time they were in playoffs. I think they had the JV.
It was the night game.
Was it?
Yes.
They played?
They played Cincinnati, and Derek Carr had a chance to do a drive. Yeah, but still, it's not the afternoon game.
But they certainly didn't get Sunday at 4. I mean, come on.
Baby steps here, people. Baby steps.
This is such a fantasy, Maggie. Everything you're detailing is so silly because, I mean, this has been listen. It's been 20 years of this. Like, you could bring in new coaches, you could bring in new GMs. It's not going to make a difference. Like, there's something fundamentally wrong with the way the organization is structured right now. We see this in a lot of teams, but none of this. Like, Tom Brady is such a pipe dream. It's crazy. You compared him to Ozzie Newsome. How dare you? Ozzie Newsome drafted Jonathan Ogden. This is like...
Have you seen Jonathan Ogden? That was the most obvious pick of all time. The guy's the biggest human being walking the earth.
He took Ed Reed,
who was one of the best college players of all time.
Yeah, and nobody else picked him except for Newsome.
Okay, so but there
I'm
was
just
a
saying,
type
like,
of
Tom
player.
Brady's not going to have his hands in it like this. He's just not. You're like describing some amazing. Sounds like a fantasy to me. This partial owner who, by the way, has a full-time job with Fox.
Oh, please! Does it look like he's putting full-time work into that?
Yes, he's so much better. I actually was shocked at watching him the other day. Like, and you say he's going to quit. Like, you're the only one who thinks he's not coming back next year. Like,
yeah, I don't. I think the Super Bowl is his swan song. But anyway.
But no, that's the thing. Like, you're talking about this partial owner. This is like, and Tom Brady was a great player too. Even if he did put his hands out, like, there's no evidence that he would be good. And most often, great players do not turn out to be great GMs.
Well, there's no evidence that he'd be bad, number one. And two, here, I'm not talking about safeties and left tackles and all that stuff. I'm talking about the two most important positions that you now need to fill as the Raiders, and that's your head coach and your quarterback. Can I trust Tom Brady with those two?
No.
I'm not asking you to scout the, strong safety from Iowa.
I would not trust Tom Brady with those two. Because
you're gonna trust
he's got a lot of personal biases. I don't think he's objective. Like, he's friends with Shador and he has a lot of friends with coaches. Like, no, that is structurally, I do not want a former player like that. I want somebody who's objective and analytical. Like, Tom Brady's like really, he's like a former player. Like, it's like Michael Jordan picking his guys. That never ever works.
This whole business is based on what? It's not based on numbers. It's based on relationships. And you could say that's a bad thing, but you know what? I'm going to give Brady, like I said, the benefit of the doubt here. We've never seen him in this role, in this capacity. By the way, it was ESPN who said he is going to be involved in this decision. And I'm not leaving it to Mark Davis and Tom Telesco. If I'm a Raider fan, I'm praying to the high heavens that Brady's got the Midas touch here. So that would be that's how I would lay this out. Shador Sanders, you got to trade with Cleveland. Looks like Cam Ward, by a lot of mock drafts, could be going to Tennessee. And listen, if you lose him to Tennessee, then I've got a backup plan for you.
You got to go you got to give up a lot of draft capital, get from 6 to 2, and you need that draft capital. I think the team around, if I'm Dion, I'm not steering him to the Raiders. I agree, steer him away from Cleveland. It's a mess right now. I mean, basically, all these teams in top 5 are the same exact top 6 are the same position. Like, these are bad organizations. I don't know where Dion's going to steer. And my point is, like, it's not an accident the Raiders keep running into the same problems. Like, it's not an accident the Giants keep running into the same problems. The Browns keep running into the same problems. The Titans are kind of a new mess. But generally, like, all that, like, we're doing a renovation job. You're trying to paint a house on the outside with pretty Tom Brady colors when inside it is fundamentally rotten.
Okay, but am I folding the franchise? I mean, what do you want me to do here? I'm trying to help a Raider fan base where the owner is never going to sell. So outside of that, I got to work with what I have. And if it's a new coat of paint, but I think it's a little bit deeper than that with Brady.
But I think you saw Tom Brady kick your team's butt for 20 years and think that he's some sort of Superman. And he's good at that. He's great at a pre-snap read. To think that that ever translates, like, most often, this structure does not work. A celebrity owner, like, it just is. I think structurally what you're saying is usually fails. So the odds are this is not going to work. The odds are he's going to hire a buddy and he's going to draft somebody he has a relationship with. Like, I want Jeffrey Lurie buys the Eagles and hires an unknown quarterback coach out of Green Bay named Andy Reid. I want Stan Kroenke hires Sean McVay. I want, like, something completely, like, whatever. Just be really smart about this. And I think Brady's not the answer.
Okay. I think that there's part of that, though, that's a little revisionist history here. You act like Sean McVay and Andy Reid popped up out of nowhere. They're two guys.
Reid did.
He was in a prominent coaching tree.
Yeah,
exactly.
McVay was crazy.
And McVay's grandfather was a GM, and he comes from the Shanahans.
McVay was an insane hire when it happened because nobody thought
31 or something.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Okay, but you act like these guys were not, like, that they somehow just were manifested out of thin air.
But they were gutsy hires. Okay,
and that's fine. But I don't think the gutsy hire might have been Antonio Pierce. The gutsy hire. It's not the time right now for the gutsy hire for the Raiders.
But it is. It definitely is. It's not the time to bring in Josh McDaniels 2.0. It's time to hope that Liam Cohen or your guy Joe Brady or some one of these offense coordinators turns out to be the next great offensive coach. It is not the time to say, well, you know what? I played with this guy or this guy was an assistant in the Patriots. That's not going to work.
Well, I don't know with a guy who's that young, who are they bringing with him? Who's going to be the defensive coordinator? Maybe Brady's able to help there. Maybe he's able to say, listen, I'm involved now. This isn't going to be a revolving door. But to me, I think you want somebody with experience. Anyway, that's a little what's going on with the Raiders. We're trying to help them today.
We are not. Maggie is. I'm trying to live in the real world here.
Well, again, I'm not trying to fold the franchise. I want the Raiders to be good. I think it's fun when the Raiders are good.
I'm not arguing with that. I just think that this just year, you have to look at the situation and be like, why are there so many coaches? Like what I just counted, there were 13 since the year 2000. Like, why would this be any different? And you think it's a Tom Brady element. And I think that's a wing and a prayer.
EJ, can we put a poll up? Is Tom Brady going to help the Raiders? Yes, no. And the other part of this, I have another thought. Do you guys want to hear my other radical outside the box thought? Manny's saying no. I'm sorry, Manny. You're contractually obligated to hear all of my outside the box thoughts. Hate to break it to you. Got another outside the box thought. And this one has to do with something that Perloff, it's inspired by you.
All right, just what is it?
It's inspired by you because you keep telling me how much you think Aaron Rodgers is going to have some kind of second act, third act.
Yeah, who even knows at this point?
Yeah, whatever. And I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers would be a fit at the Raiders. No. The Raiders, they need someone much, much younger. They need somebody who's at the beginning of their career, not at the end. But where did you say Aaron Rodgers would be a good fit?
Pittsburgh, Seattle.
And his hometown.
Oh, San Francisco would be great, yeah.
Make the Godfather offer for Purdy.
For what team?
The Raiders.
Oh, dear God, no.
Rodgers goes to San Francisco. The Raiders trade for Purdy. Give him the $60 million. If the 49ers are going to nickel and dime you and $45 million and they want you to take this hometown discount and you got to take Mr. Irrelevant discount, you know what I say to that? I'll pay him. And I'll give you draft capital, too. I'm not going to give you everything draft capital because I got to give the guy $60 million, but I'll pay him at the top of the market. Sure. Why? What do I have to lose? Brock Purdy can stabilize this offense. With the right offensive coordinator, hire somebody from Shanahan's tree. Whatever you want to do. This could work. Now, Shador would be my pie in the sky. That's my number one. Start with a rookie. Develop him. This is the surefire way. But if the 49ers want to cheap out on Brock, and if they think they can get over the hump with Rodgers or Kirk Cousins or whoever Shanahan wants to move on to, Sam Darnold, whatever, I'll pay Brock Purdy. Bring him on. I'll give him $60 million. Why not? I'll give him 58, 60. What you want to break Dak Prescott's contract? I'll do it. If I'm Mark Davis, bring on Purdy.
Cap, if you're listening, who does our social media clips, when this take goes viral, I always want to say this is the worst idea I ever heard. I'm friendly with Maggie Gray off the air. This is your offer. That is the single worst team building idea I've heard in probably 20 years of covering the NFL. That Brock Purdy to the Raiders, like Brock Purdy with 17 stars around him, maybe. With this Raiders, look at his receiving core. Brock Purdy throwing to Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, and Terrace Marshall Jr.
You're conveniently leaving out Brock Bowers, who would be Rookie of the Year if Jaden Daniels wasn't having such an amazing year.
Okay, unless you're going to clone Brock Bowers and have four more on that offense, Brock Purdy would get destroyed. Let me read their offensive line. Colton Miller, Jackson Powers-Johnson, Andre James, Dylan Parham, and Thayer Munford Jr. I don't care if Thayer Munford Sr.'s there. They would destroy Brock Purdy.
Well, Senior is a beast.
I cannot believe how bad that idea is. I'm sorry. That sounds harsh.
By the way, they've been drafting offensive linemen. Ask people who cover the team. Those guys came along this year. They had some of the worst quarterbacks. Those guys couldn't get the ball out.
That's because the other team was too bored to rush the passer.
And Jacoby Myers, by the way, is had a career year secretly. Nobody cares. Whatever. Here's the thing. You need a run game. Of course you do. We knew that. That will help Brock Purdy. You got Brock Bowers. I saw the Kansas City Chiefs with a phenomenal tight end and with a run game get on track. Purdy's not Mahomes. I get that. But you have a couple pieces here.
Do you get that?
I do get that.
I mean, Purdy is when Mahomes switches to his left hand. That's the comp we're talking about. And I like Purdy, but okay, we have to put this ball up.
Can I ask you a question, Pearl? Because that team is not good. But what if I told you, because the Raiders are going to have a ton of cap money this year, what if I told you add
T.
Higgins to that group?
Brock Purdy, T. Higgins.
Brock Purdy and T. Higgins. Do you think that changes the cap at all?
2 Brocks.
I mean, we're talking about the difference between 5 wins and 6 wins.
I guess that's a no.
I love T. Higgins. There's something you guys are just ignoring, like organizational dysfunction.
I agree with you. I'm just saying, if you did that, T. Higgins,
you know
that
how I
changed
feel
anything.
about T. Higgins.
I mean,
T.
this
Higgins.
is the path, guys.
This is the path. Yeah,
2 paths.
You're right. Like maybe 7 wins, but I don't think so. Also, too, you got Peyton, Harbaugh, and Andy Reid in your division.
Okay, but here's the thing about that. I can't change that. Okay, the Raiders. I can't change that Patrick Mahomes is in my division. Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh, Sean Payton. I can't change any of that. All I can do is work with what I've got.
Well, paying $60 million to Brock Purdy, you can change that because then you're going to be drafting number 1, 2, or 3 for the next 5 years.
I disagree. 855-212-4227. All right, what do you guys think? Laid you 2 options out there. Either you make a play for Shedeur Sanders. You got to trade with Cleveland to get him, most likely. Or let's get Brock in. 49ers don't want to pay him $60 million. If I'm Mark Davis, sure, whatever you want. 60, let's go 65. Let's get nuts. It's Vegas after all. I'll bring him.
Oh, dear God.
65's a little rich. You know what I'm saying.
No,
Sorry, I'm on
I
a
don't know what
heater
you're saying.
I think Kyle Shanahan would do it, by the way. I think they want to play hardball with Purdy.
Can I talk to Pat McAfee directly? So if he gets this take and he's going to go after you again.
Come on. Pat McAfee doesn't come after
She played a lot of sports growing up. There's been some CTE. I don't know where this idea came from. Brock Purdy.
Naysayer know.
Like, you might as well stick with Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell.
That is wrong. That's mean.
I
don't have an
Brock
issue
Purdy.
with Pat McAfee. We're cool, I think.
No,
Never met him.
he was the one.
Naysayer know.
When you had your take that offensive linemen just push guys around and aren't valuable.
Well,
which
I
is,
was just being funny.
Yeah. But Pat McAfee did like a 10-minute spiel on that.
Oh,
and it
he
was
did?
really. Yeah, you know that. We talked about this many times.
I don't know if I ever heard it, though.
You're kidding me.
I don't think I did.
Oh, McAfee's like. McAfee's like, I'm watching the Maggie and Perloff show, and you know,
fan?
it's a good show. I watch it every day. He literally said that, and he goes, Maggie had this take that offensive linemen are interchangeable. They just push each other around, which, by the way, the reason it made everyone mad because there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, like, what does an offensive lineman do? It's not like the offensive lineman is like throwing option passes. So anyway, McAfee
On the Lions, they are. Yeah.
McAfee went off on that take, and not in a mean way. He was just like, but I think like if people get a hold of this take, they're not going to like this. This is a very controversial
says no?
idea. Everyone except Brock Purdy's agent, and even Brock Purdy might be like, nah, I'm good. He's just like he's the ultimate system quarterback with no talent around him. That's why he's of all 32 teams, that's the single worst fit for Brock Purdy, right?
I don't think so. 855-212-4227.
I mean,
and
it's
just for the record, the offensive line take was that a guy could come in and play left tackle and get up to speed in 2 weeks because left tackles are generally on an island. That's what I said. And then Perloff was like, they're not going to like this. I go, why? They're just pushing people around. And that's the part that went viral.
The reason it went viral because you were 85% true. Do not back off that take.
I'm not backing off of it. I'm just giving you a little context.
I'm just saying a lot of people were like, yeah, at the end of the day, like, yeah. And that, by the way, that take was great. I think one of the most overrated things is in the draft is like, I don't know, is he a left tackle or a right tackle? Then NFL teams just switch them all around willy-nilly.
Penei Sewell.
Yeah. Sewell needs to play right is what they say. But regardless, you were so right on that take.
Well, somebody in our company actually wanted me fired for that.
No.
Yes. They called our boss, Spike Eskin, and said, man, it's really a shame you're going to have to fire Maggie. He's like, I don't think you know how this works.
Want names.
Yeah, I can't give it.
I'm going to go down to our new boss and tell him Maggie.
Turns out it was Perloff.
Well, I'll tell you, Brock Purdy and the Raiders is even worse than the offensive lineman. It is the worst idea you've ever had, and I love it.
I've definitely had worse ideas. 855-212-4227. I ate tuna jelly.
Took the words right out of my mouth. I didn't say anything.
I think you're forgetting the outfits that we were wearing to WrestleMania. We've definitely had worse ideas. I've definitely had worse ideas. Okay, there we go. 855-212-4227. There you go. Drafting Shedeur Sanders, Tom Brady involved with the Raiders, or how about trade for Brock Purdy? What say you? 855-212-4227.
Let a naysayer know.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
I might swerve in that corner, whoa. Hold on tight, cause I tweaking this.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show.
Oh, this is, I recognize this,
Is this the guy we've been texting about?
LeAngelo Ball. Big Baller Brand's back. Back up. Did anyone ever get their shoes, by the way, that they... so.
Oh, the ones he stole in China? Is that what you're talking about?
No,
Oh.
that was a pair of sunglasses. Remember when
right.
LeVar Ball started a shoe brand?
Yeah, shoes, yeah.
Did anyone ever get the shoes?
I think like 2 people bought them and their ankles broke immediately.
Lonzo Ball.
Yeah.
Alonzo was wearing them.
Yeah, and his feet have done great. So Maggie doubled down on the break. Brock Purdy to the Raiders as an option. I'm looking at a list of some names here. Sam Darnold, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, trading for J.J. McCarthy as a possibility, Aaron Rodgers, or try to trade up in the draft. Man, all of these are really hard because trading up in the draft means you have to give up a lot of draft picks, and you have needs everywhere. So this is the Raiders should have tanked harder. Darn that Antonio Pierce.
Yeah, now you tell them.
Yeah.
It's a little too late.
That is one of the flaws of firing your coach every year is the coach is try to win at the end of the season. Like you got to say you're here next year, lose on purpose. Like kind of the Titans did with Brian Callahan. You can't have a guy whose job is in the balance coming into week 16, 17, and 18.
Well, let's not
Raiders
get nuts.
keep screwing that up.
I mean, they won 4 games. It's not like...
Wow. I know, but they're number 6 in the draft. Did you see the way the Titans played down the stretch?
Now, they executed the tank. The Giants couldn't do it. Cleveland couldn't do it. And obviously, Vegas could. But so here's the thing, though. The Brock Purdy aspect and him going, you named all those guys on the list. Mm-hmm. I'd take Purdy over every single one of those dudes.
You take Purdy over Sam Darnold?
Well, here's the thing. I don't think Sam Darnold's getting out of the building. You're going to trade for J.J. McCarthy coming off a knee injury and a setback. Aaron Rodgers is older. You want Russell Wilson and Justin Fields? Like, come on.
I would trade for J.J. McCarthy. What do you have to give up for him?
Well, but he's coming off this big knee injury, so I don't know.
Yeah, but he's healthy, actually.
Is he?
Think, yeah, totally.
Then why are they moving on with Darnold?
No, remember the last time, I'm sorry to interrupt, but remember the last time we talked about him, he had a setback and had another surgery.
I read more about that, and because we had this big debate, was it a surgery or a procedure? And I read afterwards, they went in and cleaned it up again, but it's supposed to be fine. He's moving around. He's going to be good.
I thought it was cleanup and something else because I remember being confused about how bad it was. And one of the news guys, Schefter, Rappaport, said it was like 1.5 things. It was like a cleanup, and while they were in there, they did something else.
I think they injected it with something. But
yeah, they injected it, which is not like the end of the world. Like, that's good.
By the way, it is so like us to have a debate over a surgery or a procedure. If that's not the Maggie and Perloff show, I don't know what is. But anyway, the reason why I think Brock Purdy is an option is because if the 49ers don't want to pay him at the top of the market, I'd say I will if I'm the Raiders.
If you put $65 million into Brock Purdy,
let's call it 60.
Okay, 60. That would be crazy because you would be killing all your cap space and you don't have receivers for him to go to. And you have to trade a first-round pick. Like, you don't have a good offensive line. You don't have receivers. You'd be stuck with a very short quarterback. And you saw this year when he has to move around a lot, like bad things happen for San Francisco.
Offensive line coming together, according to the people who cover this team. I was just reading about it. And, here's the thing about Tom Telesco as a general manager. I don't have a lot of trust, be honest. Don't have a lot of faith. But the guy did draft some pretty good wide receivers when he was in San Diego.
Like who?
Well, didn't he? I'm assuming he would have drafted Mike Williams and Keenan Allen.
Yeah, he drafted Mike Williams at number 7. That was a bad pick. No, it wasn't Mike Williams. Who is that? Is that who he got at number 7?
I think that, it was Mike Williams, right?
Yeah.
Mike Williams and Keenan Allen are two guys who have had beyond productive careers.
He drafted Keenan Allen? You're sure about that?
I would assume he was there for that long.
Keenan Allen's been in the league since Dan Fouts was throwing the ball in the Chargers.
But anyway, I think finding wide receivers to me and finding running backs, if I'm a general manager and I can't find those two positions that feel so deep in college football right now, then I don't deserve to be a GM.
Yes, on Keenan Allen, by the way. 2013, he drafted Keenan.
Oh, so
Thank
Telesco
you.
was there in 2013?
He was there forever.
I know.
He was there as
see?
long as Dan Fouts, too.
Anyway.
Did he draft Quentin Johnson?
Probably.
Yeah.
That's because that was his last year there, right?
Counterpoint. Maggie.
Well, let's just wait because he had a couple big catches
Yeah.
in week 18, and we'll see if he has any.
Mike
big
Williams
catches.
at 7 was a definite mistake. I think that was right ahead of Patrick Mahomes.
But think about it. He still had Phillip Rivers at the time. So maybe that doesn't look as bad in hindsight. Anyway, this is my plan for the Raiders. Brock Purdy, he's the answer.
I'm telling you, like, you're stretching to say Tom Telesco has a good wide receiver history. Again, like, this is not going to work. Your plan is not going to work. And I don't think they're going to do that too, because you say $60 million like it's nothing, like it's your money to hand out. Like, the teams are definitely nervous about making anybody the highest paid quarterback, let alone an unproven guy who just came off a 20 touchdown, 12 interception year. It's not like he's on fire right now.
Perloff, it's the Raiders we're talking about. I mean, they'd kill for Purdy. Let's
No,
get to Andrew
get out of here.
Bogusch.
Gardner Minshew is basically Purdy and jorts.
I resent that. I don't know if Purdy can pull off the jorts. Bogusch is here. He's got headlines for us on this fine Wednesday. What's up?
And I've got a riddle sponsored by Progressive Insurance. What do your home and auto have in common? Progressive protects them both. It was an easy riddle. Learn more at progressive.com.
He didn't
You
give us
suck,
any
Bogusch.
time to try to figure it out.
I'm just going to move on before I get in trouble. It was yesterday's lead story. Now it's apparently off the board. We're told the Cowboys have denied the Bears' request to interview Mike McCarthy, but we don't know if this means Dallas is keeping McCarthy or if they're still making up their minds about his future. McCarthy's contract expires today, but Dallas can deny access to him through early next week. With or without McCarthy, the Bears will be busy looking for a coach. GM Ryan Poles may even interview one of us.
We're going to cast a wide net. It's going to be a diverse group. There's going to be different backgrounds from offense, defense, special teams, college, pro. We are turning every stone to make sure that we're doing this the right way. There's going to be some names that you don't expect that are going to surprise you because we're digging deeper than we ever have before.
Who the bleep is Manny Rodriguez?
Wait, which college coaches are they? Manny, put in a good word for us, okay?
The Bears are interviewing Stu Kovacs. I love your idea. Like, I'm like, one of us might get interviewed. What is he talking about? Then I read, like, we're going to have a diverse. People who've never even seen football. We're going to get Europeans. It's going to be like Ted Lasso, except the football version. We're going to get the coach of Liverpool is going to come over here and motivate the guys.
Jurgen Klopp is in charge of.
Jurgen Klopp.
He's free right now, I think.
Yeah,
Jurgen's
it's
not
going to
doing
be.
anything.
They're going to film it and turn it into a Apple TV special too.
You don't think Pep Guardiola has gotten a couple calls? I'm sure he has.
By the way, and the other thing too, the funny thing is, like, everyone on earth knows Ryan Poles has no say in this thing. I saw Kevin Warren talk last night. He's like, yeah, Ryan Poles is technically still the general manager. This diverse group. That is the stupidest. I mean, you think the Raiders are a mess. Maggie, you nailed this one. You're like, the structure of the Bears makes no sense, and they don't appear to be fixing it. Hiring a diverse coach from like a specialty, I don't even know what to talk about.
We got breaking news from Schefter. Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo have been requested.
Just consultants, really.
Messi would be a good slot receiver. Just getting in there.
I just love it. It's like, we're going to really go outside the box. Offense, defense, and special teams, guys. Whoa.
Yeah. Like, it's going to be diverse. We're talking pro and college.
You just blew my hair back.
Wait, you're going to look at the college ranks for
what about high
pro?
school, Ryan? Here are the football names that we know connected to the Bears so far. Pete Carroll, Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel, Brian Flores, and Bills offensive coordinator Joe Barry.
Outside the box, Pete Carroll.
Yeah, what a zany bunch of names. Like, who are these Mavericks and Renegades?
Those are just the obvious ones. They got to keep those guys secret so nobody else jumps in on them.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Brady Chess.
Yeah.
You don't want who the Jags come up and start stealing your ideas.
Right.
That's the blind leading the blind, I believe.
We are going to be unique and outside the box, and we're going to interview Mike Vrabel, who's interviewing with 5 other teams, and Joe Brady, who's interviewing with every team. Like, everybody just like, Pete Carroll is outside the box, by the way.
Yeah,
like,
a guy who has been around for 50 years and coached in college and pro.
And openly begged somebody to interview him, too. Like, they didn't come up with Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll called them, right? Oh, my God, it's amazing.
Vrabel, by the way, gets his chat with the Patriots tomorrow. New England met yesterday with Byron Leftwich and Pep Hamilton. Antonio Pierce, not the only person to lose his job yesterday. The Niners dumping D coordinator Nick Sorensen. And Ashton Genty officially declares for the NFL draft. Last night in Utah, Trae Young treated the Jazz like they were the Knicks.
Hawks don't have time. Here's Trae. Midcourt fires. Bang! Trae Young just won the game. Trae Young just won the game, folks. Trae won from midcourt. He just stunned the silent crowd here in Utah. Trae Young from midcourt just knocked down a three, and the Hawks win.
A reminder
that was like the Hindenburg going down. It was like a news report. He's won the game.
A reminder that Trae Young has a losing record against the Knicks.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Oh, the humanity.
Yeah. Trae Young just won the game. Check notes. Utah.
He also got his name wrong. I was like, what the hell is going on there? He called him Trey Mung, I think, at one point.
Honestly, it was like, is Walter Cronkite now doing play-by-play?
Trae Young dribbles to the right. He's dribbling with his right hand. He's dribbling. He wins the game. He wins the game against Utah. Utah doesn't have an NBA team.
I thought this was New Orleans.
What was up with that highlight? And they took a bang. I feel like that you have to pay Mike Breen a royalty, don't you?
That, of course, was Steve Holman on Hawks Radio. Trae with the half-court heave to win the game, 124-121. After Colin Sexton had tied the game with a 3 with 4 seconds left, Trae finishing with 24 points and 20 assists.
To be fair, if a game winner happens in Utah, did it really happen?
Well, that's Michael Jordan.
Jason,
that's a great answer. Yeah. I'll shut up now.
Jason Tatum scored 29 in the Celtics' 118-106 win in Denver. Nikola Jokic sick, didn't play. The Hornets snapped their 10-game skid, 115-104 over the Suns. And Zion Williamson was back after missing 27 games with a left hamstring strain. 22 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals.
And a ridiculous dunk.
That too, but the Pelicans lose at home 104-97 to the T-Wolves.
I'm going to have to pay attention for the next 11 days that Zion's healthy. I'm back on the NBA bandwagon, and that facial hair is awesome, too. I'm in.
Men's number 1, Tennessee, took a 73-43 beating at 8th-ranked Florida. That means there are no more unbeaten teams left in D1. Second-ranked Auburn did survive a trip to Texas, 87-82. And number 24, Michigan, outscored 22nd-ranked UCLA, 94-75. Vlad Golden, a career-high 36 for the Wolverines. Justin Verlander is expected to sign a 1-year deal worth $15 million with the San Francisco Giants. Guys, back to you.
Bogusch, thanks so much. Coming up, major changes to the 49ers staff. We'll tell you about that next. It's M&P.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Love this new Bad Bunny. I heard he said this is the most Puerto Rican album of all his albums, right?
It's incredibly Puerto Rican. It got me saying "wepa" every 5 minutes.
We're here for it. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. The 49ers, Pearl, you should be happy about this. You were calling for it basically all year. They fired the special teams coordinator late Monday night. Yesterday, the defensive coordinator also shown the door. And listen, you could argue they definitely had their right and reasons to fire these two guys. But for Kyle Shanahan, this is now a revolving door of defensive coordinators. And maybe it's because you're losing guys to the NFL or to head coaching jobs like Robert Saleh and D'Amico Ryans, but they have had trouble filling this role.
Yeah, I think this is a big story. They've gone from defense, like in 2019, they were number 2, 5, 3, 1, 8 2 years ago, and 8 this year. In their ranking in yards, that is. And that's just like something, how do you be so ferocious 4 years ago with a similar personnel and then all of a sudden you're not? It doesn't make any sense.
What about injuries? I mean, is that too easy of an explanation?
Well, last year they were relatively healthy all year, and they definitely, they were a different team. They had to win shootouts. I know they made the Super Bowl, but if you had the defense from 4 years ago and the way Brock Purdy played in 2023, you would have won the Super Bowl. I mean, you would have killed Kansas City probably. I just think that their defense used to score points. They used to be relentless after the quarterback. And now, I mean, is anybody scared of the Niners defense?
I don't think it will take much to get it turned around. I mean, you still have Bosa, you still have Warner. If Dre Greenlaw is healthy and if he's going to be a part of the future, then
it seems like he might be gone.
It's possible,
Yeah.
and it looks like Charvarius Ward is also going to be gone.
Yeah.
He was kind of cleaning out his locker. But here's the thing. At some point, doesn't Shanahan have to wear this a little bit?
Why? He has the slightest idea how defense works.
Well, again, I don't love head coaches who just say, I'm one side of the ball and you go take care of it. And then when they don't like the results, they're just firing guys.
I think Andy Reid knows how defensive play calling works.
Well, he got lucky that Steve Spagnuolo never gets a head coaching interview anymore. So,
well, to Reid's credit, he's always had great defensive coordinators. So you have to delegate that job, and Shanahan did too. I mean, Shanahan hired Saleh and DeMeco Ryans, or somebody did, either him or Lynch. I'm not sure you could. I know maybe I'm a cop out. Like Shanahan's not going to wear this. Like, how can he wear the defensive volley back?
Well, because I think other coaches do wear it when you fire your coordinators, and if it doesn't get better, I mean. And I'm not saying it's not going to get better, but let's see. And maybe they do bring Robert Saleh back, and maybe that just fixes everything.
I saw Saleh got a head coaching interview. I
saw
was really
that too.
surprised. I can't remember. Who was it? Chicago or
No, I thought it was
New
the
Orleans?
Saints.
Yeah. Okay. So I just think they definitely lost some defensive personnel, but this is mystifying. Like, they should be way better. If you have Fred Warner, last year you had Fred Warner for a big chunk of the season and Bosa. Like, you should be dominating, and they just are not.
Yeah, I mean, Javon Hargrave. They also brought over Leonard Floyd. I think it's this constant sort of tweaking, and I think you were wondering why didn't they fire the special teams coordinator during the season?
Oh, well, that was a mess this year, and obviously Jake Moody is. I'm sorry, like they can't stick with him.
I know it's crazy because he's. To his credit, the dude hit 2 50-plus yard field goals in the Super Bowl. He also missed an extra point. So do with that what you will. But when they needed him in that Super Bowl, he did nail 2 50-yarders. So they spent a third-round draft pick on him because they had these extra third-rounders. I think my idea that Brock Purdy could be trade bait and that the Raiders would be the ones to pay him at the top of the market, I think is very much alive here. Because I don't know if the 49ers, who have all these guys to pay, I don't know if they want to spend $55 million on Brock Purdy. But if I'm the Raiders, I'm happy to do that. I'm glad to do that. And if Shanahan just thinks he can win with any guy, Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, I don't know, make a play for Sam Darnold, whatever, I think that Brock Purdy could be available, and that could be the biggest change, despite defensive coordinator, special teams. That would be the biggest change, obviously, to this team in the offseason.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would offer more than a 6th-round pick for Brock Purdy. Like, I think nobody's going to want to pay that guy $60 million, except the Niners. The thing about the Niners too, like they've been hot and cold on draft. They're one of those teams like the Rams who's great at late round picks, but they don't seem to be perfect at the high picks.
Trey Lance?
Yeah, like Trey Lance. I mean, I know he had a good game the other day, but Ricky Pearsall was probably not the smartest pick.
Let's give him a minute. The guy had a devastating, situation happen with him getting shot on the street and recovering. I mean, let's give him a bit of a pass.
I mean, like, look at this. Some of their. I'm looking at draft.
Ayuk was a great draft pick for them.
Ayuk worked out well, that one, but like they got Lenore in the 5th round, they got Hufanga in the 5th round. Great picks. Jawan Jennings was a 7th round pick. Colt McKivitz was a 5th round pick. Like they are really good in the late rounds. This year they got that Pooney guy we were talking about. Yep. We were doing rookie rankings, the guard. So they have to get these young cheap players in. That's the thing with these really good teams. San Francisco's been at the top of the mountain for a while. You got to keep replenishing through the draft. This is challenging. It's so funny. We've almost reversed roles because I kept saying the Niners window is open. It's open. You have Kyle Shanahan. Just personnel-wise, maybe it's closing here. It's you got to take advantage of Nick Bosa not getting old because he's so special. But I just don't know. I don't see it. They need get Saleh back, Maggie. Can you do that for me?
I think they probably could. I don't know. I don't think Robert Saleh is getting hired as a head coach. I know that the Jets got worse after he was fired, but he was not a good head coach.
Who is Saleh's best friend? He was like
Matt LaFleur.
LaFleur, right? Like it was Mike McDaniel, Matt LaFleur, Saleh, and like there was a group of guys all from the Shanahan tree.
Are you going to really fire your Green Bay? Are you firing your defense coordinator, Jeff Hafley, who just took over this year when you're in the playoffs?
What about if Brian Flores gets a head coaching job, he joins Kevin O'Connell? Because for some reason, I imagine that they're good friends.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
I have no idea why. I just think that there's going to be some demand for Robert Saleh as a defensive coordinator.
But why not go back to the 49ers?
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
Where a place where you had success.
I just wondering why we haven't heard any whispers of it, because you're right. It makes so much logical sense that even when he got fired midway through this year, he went and consulted in Green Bay, right?
Yep.
Why didn't he go to consult in San Francisco?
I don't know. I don't have the answer, but his Matt LaFleur, I think, was the best man at his wedding. So maybe it's a simple answer. Relationships.
Yeah, but I mean, he's presumably has great relationships in San Francisco. I mean, he was well liked there. I'm looking at you like, can you answer for why Robert Saleh didn't join the Niners?
I'm like, I don't know. He's got 7 kids. Maybe you can't move 7 kids cross country lickety split.
That's a great point.
Maybe it's easier just to go from Green Bay back to New Jersey before you move your family wherever.
That makes no sense.
I don't know. It's closer than San Francisco, and there's your geography lesson.
Yeah, but you can fly direct from SFO to JFK. I mean, Green Bay, you got to drive to Milwaukee, and then you might have to connect in Chicago.
It's either Milwaukee. You can fly to Green Bay, but that's like 2 flights, maybe a day.
Yeah.
It's one of those little planes.
It's a small airport.
Small airport.
In Green Bay.
I love small airports, though.
I had a layover in Detroit when I went.
Everything leaves out of gate 1. Let's make it easy.
I got to tell you one thing. There is no easy logistical answer. When you have 7 kids, you're screwed in every possible fashion. Nothing is going to be easy for Robert Saleh.
I agree. 855-212-4227. Okay, 49er fans, what do you think about the changes? Are you excited about these changes? And for the Raider fans, who do you want coaching this team? We get to the Cowboys next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Well, congratulations. Looks like the Dallas Cowboys have made their decision on a head coach. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. No, the Cowboys haven't come out and said anything about Mike McCarthy, Perloff, but they blocked the Chicago Bears from interviewing head coach Mike McCarthy. And you can say a lot of things about Jerry Jones. A lot of things have been said about Jerry on this show. I don't know if he's the most scrupulous guy of all time. And I think we've got some court documents that would probably reflect that. But I don't think he would be this vindictive, mean-spirited, whatever you want to call it, where if he's not going to keep Mike McCarthy and retain him as head coach, that he would block him from trying to get a future job. That doesn't feel like a move that Jerry would make.
A move that Jerry would make would be keep Mike McCarthy for another 7 years.
Well,
like, he loves him some Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
Mike McCarthy's probably sleeping over at his house right now. So you're right. Of course he would not do this because he's very, very loyal, and he's a relationship guy, and he clearly has a good one with McCarthy.
Definitely. And so I think that the Cowboy fans are going to be really upset about this. And I would say don't fret. Easy for me to say. I know you want to get to the Super Bowl. I know you haven't been to the NFC Championship game in 30 years. I get all of that. But the Cowboys were never linked to anybody. They haven't been rumored for anybody. And I don't think that Kellen Moore or Lincoln Riley or whoever, any of these guys who are candidates right now, outside, I guess, Vrabel, who's coming in here who's going to win 12 games? Who's going to come in here and you know for sure Perloff is going to have more success than Mike McCarthy is having with the Dallas Cowboys right now?
Well, I mean, could you give me Ben Johnson? I would take him in a heartbeat over Mike McCarthy.
Have you heard one rumor
No,
about this?
they haven't. Then that's not their style. They never would go in on the hot, expensive guy. That's just not. I mean, Ben Johnson's probably going to get the biggest salary of any coach. So there's no chance that they would go for him.
Right.
I mean, yeah, also, too, they don't want anyone who's going to have more shine than Jerry. That's why he likes having McCarthy.
Yeah, and I guess, like, listen, I think a lot of Cowboy fans are going to look at this as, like, waving the white flag.
Yeah.
And Jerry not really wanting to win. By the way, welcome to my side of the argument of what I've been saying for years about Jerry Jones. He cares more about being Jerry and giving you hope than he does about winning. But I've come around here on McCarthy because I'm looking at the other coaching candidates and I'm not really getting super jazzed up about any of these guys either. And I'm looking at Dak Prescott, who was second in MVP voting last year with Mike McCarthy calling plays. And I don't see that as a bad thing. Can we give Mike Zimmer another year to try to get this defense a little bit better? Can you have a little continuity? This isn't Jason Garrett, who has been the head coach for 8 years.
Right.
Mike McCarthy, it's been 4 years. Maybe he gets another 2-year deal here. And I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing. You got riddled with injuries this season.
Mm-hmm.
I think you could do a lot worse, is what I'm saying. Now, is that like the ultimate vote of confidence? But you said it yourself. Jerry's not going after the biggest fish. He's not bringing in Vrabel.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to bring in Belichick. So you are where you are. And I think that McCarthy is not a bad option.
I disagree on one thing. I do think Jerry Jones thinks he's going for a Super Bowl, but his ego will not let him bring in the right guy. But, I mean, let's look at the results this year. When Dak was healthy, they lost. I'm looking at the scores.
I know.
44-19 to New Orleans.
I know. But
They
I
lost
was told
47-9 to Detroit. They weren't even competitive. They were terrible when Dak was there this year. Like, the team was falling apart.
I was told that's because Micah Parsons was hurt. I was told
You were told 44-19
that the defense was bad because of all the injuries on defense. I was told that by you.
No, I never thought that. Yeah, but I when they fell apart earlier this year, I figured McCarthy was gone. And the fact that they won a couple games with Cooper Rush, they actually got good on defense when Parsons came back. Yeah. Obviously, losing Dan Quinn was like the death knell for this team. That became very, very clear very early in the season. So, no, there's no future here. There's just none. We're talking about the Raiders to start the show having no future. Like Dallas has, now they're out of the Super Bowl mix. There won't be a single expert alive who picks them to win the Super Bowl next year. And I think most people are going to turn off them for the playoffs even because they're going to have to pay Micah Parsons. All this money is going to be caught up at top of their chart with Dak Prescott, who's coming off a major hamstring injury, will turn 32. CeeDee Lamb is the only guy who can catch the ball on that team. There's no help at receiver. There's nowhere to get it. They're probably going to draft a running back, which might help, but still, it's not going to help enough to turn them around. I just don't see this going well for Dallas.
Okay, but here's the thing. That's not Mike McCarthy's fault. You're talking about personnel and about how they're allocating dollars. Mike McCarthy has nothing to do with that, and the Joneses make it abundantly clear that he has nothing to do with that. That is all a Jerry problem. So you're going to bring in, name your coaching candidate.
Well, yeah,
they're
but
going to be
I mean,
dealing with the same stuff.
Even if you had a super talented roster, like Mike McCarthy has not inspired that team in big moments because he hasn't won a playoff game. And that,
he has won a playoff game.
Well,
They beat the Bucs.
They beat the shadow of the Bucs. What was that team they beat? They've gotten, when it's been a big game, Mike McCarthy's come up short. There's no way you can argue against that.
Listen, the Green Bay loss was unforgivable. Of course it was.
The first Niners loss was not great. The second Niners loss, that was a good Niners team, I understand. But still, like, Dallas should have won that year. They're not fired up. They're not really, like, you could tell they're just not all on the same page. Think of the great Patriots teams. Like, everybody is doing their role, has maximum energy. When it becomes to a big moment, the Cowboys come up small. I don't think McCarthy inspires them, which it's not his fault necessarily, but there's no reason to build around this dude.
I just think you're talking about the issues with the Cowboys are actually the Jerry Jones issues. So to pin that stuff on Mike McCarthy, who, yes, I mean, you're falling short to the San Francisco 49ers, one team that should have gone to the Super Bowl if what's-his-face can hang on to an interception against the Rams.
Yeah, but that team was 10-7.
Whatever. I'm just saying that was a team that was an eyelash away from the Super Bowl, and the next year they lost to a team that did go to the Super Bowl, and those playoff losses were very close both times. The Packers loss, I got nothing for you. It was a terrible loss. I thought he was going to get fired after that, but the fact that he didn't, Dan Quinn was the one who had to pay the price for it. I get it. It's 1-3 in playoffs for Mike McCarthy with the Dallas Cowboys. Of course, you want that to be better, but you've made your bed with Prescott, with Lamb. It's going to be Parsons. Like this, Mike McCarthy has gotten 12 wins out of this group.
It's going to be hard next year because you won't have Diggs at the beginning of the year. You're probably not going to get Overshawn back at all next year, depending on how his recovery from like 3 different knee injuries is.
That's a shame.
Yeah, and also, where's the help coming? Like, they don't want to spend in free agency. And they said all in last year. I guess they have some cap space this year. They're not going to use it. They're going to wait till the end of the summer, give it all to Parsons. It's just not. I'm not going to be fooled again. It actually it's starting to feel a little bit like Jason Garrett, where Garrett had some highs for sure. Remember, there were some good teams with Tony Romo. But then it just sort of spun. The wheels were spinning, and now we're in the spinning wheels mediocre stage of the Cowboys coaching carousel, and nothing's going to change.
But you know what? That may have been sealed when they gave Dak Prescott $60 million, right? Like when you're talking about the mediocre part of it.
I don't think that one move alone. It's all these moves. Like the fact that he won't bring in another, like that he wouldn't even look at Belichick. Like that says, like the fact that he won't bring in a real game changer, guy who's going to challenge him and is going to challenge Steven at every move. Like he's got to do that. He's got to bring in somebody who's going to really, really push this team. And McCarthy, we know, will not. He's going to let Jerry be the GM. Unfortunately, like he's got to bring in somebody with power. He's got to bring in a Jim Harbaugh. I know.
I mean, I'm talking about a leopard to change their spots. This is not going to happen.
Yeah, but keeping McCarthy is just like, what's the point of that? Like, what are we doing? At least give me change.
855-212-4227. It would just be for change's sake then. And I think Cowboy fans are smart enough to see the difference there.
I mean, I guess I'm hoping the fantasy that they bring in a guy who looks like a lamb but turns out to be a lion and is like really going to stand up to the Joneses and be like, no, I'm running this team. This is how it's going to work. This is who we're drafting.
Who was this person?
I don't know.
Damn act together.
Wow, Jerry's never doing that.
I don't know. Somehow he gets fooled into hiring Jimmy Johnson 2.0. Yeah, I know. All right, now I'm talking fantasy football.
I mean, come on. Like, we got to operate in reality here. The reality is Jerry's still in charge.
That's that.
Exactly. And you could do a lot worse than McCarthy. You're going to bring back Kellen Moore. I don't understand that. Who are you going to bring in? Brian Flores just to come in and kick some ass? Like I don't think that's who you need here right now.
I think Vrabel would be the choice, right? Because like at least people play hard for Vrabel, and probably Brian Flores. There's a lot. He's a bit polarizing because he burned so many bridges in Miami, right? Not really he wasn't a people person in his last job. He'd be pretty good with that defense, man. If he had some of those weapons, I swear, I keep talking about it, their schedule gets brutal next year. They had nothing but easy schedules. A lot of AFC South, the NFC East has been bad, but now the Commanders are good. The Eagles look like they're going to be good for a long time. You got that crazy NFC North. They play all four of those teams next year. It's going to be tough.
855-212-4227. Again, the Cowboys haven't said anything. This is all of us reading tea leaves because...
But they haven't been one request for an interview.
No, not one request for an interview. And also, I just don't think that Jerry would block Mike McCarthy from interviewing with the Bears and then 10 and 6 days later show him the door. EJ, you think Jerry's capable of that?
Definitely. Because everything I keep hearing about this Jerry Jones and how he views anybody on the contract with him is you work for me for as long as that contract states. If that's 3 more days, then damn it, 3 more days you're reporting to the office. So when there was a story that if Mike McCarthy, decided he wanted to interview before his contract came up, that he basically would be fired as Dallas Cowboys head coach. So I think Jerry Jones is a guy who likes to take his sweet time. I think he's like, I'm not going to be rushed by anybody else. So I have till January 14th to decide if Mike McCarthy is my coach. I'll wait till then. And I think I really think there's a chance that he may just let the contract expire and then say, all right, you want to go over there? All right, go over there now, and then we'll talk later. I think that's definitely in the realm of possibility.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't see it. I think the only team that does something that was like disrespectful like that is your New York Jets, who had Ron Rivera and I forgot who else in the building while the coaching staff is still all there.
Yep, Vrabel and Vrabel and Ron Rivera are all coming in there.
Dudes are cleaning out their offices.
Yep, love the Jets.
The
one thing I wanted to ask you too as well was because Pearl's talking that they need a Jimmy Johnson type. Well, people forget what coincided with Jimmy Johnson was also previous to that a complete teardown of the roster.
Yeah.
Oh, they were terrible Jimmy's first year.
Yeah. And we're not talking about that right now. Like
what they should be, though, right?
Back. Yeah, that's why I think maybe that we need to maybe have that discussion too. Like, if Dak's coming back and CD's coming back and I know Mike is great, but Mike is coming back and a lot of these guys are coming back. Well, then I don't know if hiring the Jimmy Johnson matters if the roster's still the same.
Well, yeah, but they might get to the top of the draft pretty soon. Like within a year or two, they might get into the number one talk. I think it's going down fast. I mean, they got Ezekiel Elliott 4. You know what's really interesting, too? Every mock draft's going to have their number 12, I believe, Ashton Genty, because he's going to try and recreate Ezekiel Elliott's first year when Zeke ran for like 1,600 yards and they were awesome. Will Genty get to 12? I'm dying to see that because there are some teams that could use a running back before. Usually running backs don't go that high. It feels like Ashton Genty's generational, like Bijan Robinson.
And Jahmyr Gibbs.
Gibbs was a shock when he went 12, but I see Chicago at number 10. What if Mike Vrabel gets Chicago and says, give me the running back and recreates Derrick Henry? I would laugh so hard if Dallas thinks they're getting Ashton Genty and then gets swooped in at the last second.
855-212-4227. All right, Cowboy fans. I don't know. How do you see this? Jerry has blocked Mike McCarthy from interviewing with the Bears. Do we see this as all right? Now just working out the details with a new contract with Big Mike, or as EJ sees it, which is you work for Jerry up until 11:59 on January 14th, and then after that, you do you.
No clocking out early in Dallas.
Yeah, but when's he going to interview people? Like all the good everybody's going to be hired by January 14th.
Look, Jerry Jones, what did he do with Dak Prescott, right? It was like literally until the hour before kickoff. He's like, you know what? All right, here's a $60 million contract.
Wasn't it like halftime of their last preseason game or something?
It was literally week 1 this year. It was right before kickoff.
How about Pete Carroll? He'll be probably available. That'd be fun. Oh my God, Pete Carroll in Dallas. I'd sign up for that.
That's the other thing too. Like if you're not a guy who's going to be, going after the hottest names, maybe you don't need to rush into the coaching. Like if you don't want Mike Vrabel, if you don't want Ben Johnson, then like what's the rush?
Maybe you follow the Bears' trajectory, thinking outside the box, offense, defense, and special teams, according to their GM. Whoa, no one's ever had that thought before.
College and pro.
Easy.
Oh,
I can't take all this at once.
Football and football.
Yeah.
855-212-4227. Cowboys fans, let's giddy up and go. We also have a big admission, I thought, from a league MVP. That's next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff. So, we did a pre-production call last night. Again, you and I disagree big time on something.
What's up?
Lamar Jackson is one of the most honest people in sport.
Mm-hmm.
He gets up on the podium and just says whatever is on his mind. And that's why I think everyone likes Lamar Jackson. I've never really heard of anyone be like, man, I hate that Lamar Jackson. Super, seems like a nice guy. I have no idea. I don't know him personally that well, but I'm just saying, like, he's honest, he's forthright, and he made some comments about what's happened in the playoffs, and I think he's spot on. I have absolutely no problem with what he said, and I totally understand.
So here's Lamar talking about past playoff failures and losses and what he thinks was behind it.
I just be too excited. That's all, too antsy. Like
down in these games.
Yeah, I just be too excited. That's all, too antsy. Like I'm seeing things before it happen. Like, I got to calm myself down. But just being more experienced, I found a way to balance it out.
Yeah, like that's like in a job interview. What's your major flaw? I'm too much of a perfectionist. I just love my job too much. I just want to go 100% at all times.
I care too much.
That is not like some sort of deep confession. I screw something that's like, yeah, I'm just so amped up. I want to win so bad that sometimes I push it a little too hard.
Okay,
okay.
No, see, this is why I'm surprised that he would make this admission, and that's fine if you want to be super honest.
That's not even an admission. That's not an admission. But go ahead.
There's nothing in the regular season that's going to be able to simulate what it's like when you get on the field in the playoffs.
Right.
First of all, he played well against the Texans last year. So what? He wasn't amped up against the Texans. It's only against the Chiefs. That's it. So to me, I'm surprised he said this because there's no way to know if he's not going to be super amped up and too amped up this time around.
Right.
Unless you just think that he's learned from his past mistakes.
Well, that's what he's saying. He's like, with experience, I hope I can get over that. That makes perfect sense.
Okay, well, he's been playing playoff games for years now. It's not like last year was their first go-round into the postseason. There's a reason he's got a 2-4 record in the playoffs.
Well, it's kind of like an NBA player. Like you start winning around 27, 28, you got to learn how to win. And I mean, Lamar is how old? He's 28. Yeah, it's not like he's you said he's been playing for years. He's not old man Phillip Rivers. I mean, yeah, he's learning how to win in the NFL. That's totally cool.
All right. I would thought this was an interesting one because what's to say, again, you can say, all right, I've learned my lesson, but no one's going to believe him until we actually see something. And here's the thing about Lamar. Which way do you think this pressure is going the more he goes to the playoffs and doesn't get to the Super Bowl? Same with Josh Allen, by the way. It's the pressure doesn't go down. The pressure goes up. So if he's too amped up, too jazzed up, whatever, you could also say it's going to be worse this year because every year you don't make it is another year where people are going to call you a playoff choker.
Right. So that's all about Lamar. But what does that have to do with his quote? He was asked, why do you think you've maybe come up short in the playoffs in the past? I'm just too darn excited sometimes, and maybe I rush things. Like, so what? Like, why is that an admission? That's a quasi-admission. That's just like, man, I want to win. I just really want to support the Ravens and get a Super Bowl so bad for this fan base. Like, that's not an admission. That's like kind of like a quarterback line. That's like what they say.
But you said it's the truth.
Yeah, it's definitely. Well, actually, I don't. Last year against the Chiefs, I know exactly what happened. For some reason, they got away from the run game, and I just wanted to get in there and throttle the entire staff of the Ravens. And then Zay Flowers fumbled the ball. Then Zay Flowers taunted a guy. Like, that whole game was a mess. And it wasn't even on Lamar. Lamar, actually, if you look at his stats, he didn't play great, but there were a lot of things that went wrong in that game. And this year, they're not going to do that. If they play the Chiefs, they are going to ground and pound. I guarantee you they're not going to open it up like that.
Yeah, Lamar did not play well in that game. The box score did not tell the story. He was completely flummoxed. He was dancing around the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, why? He should be dancing around the line of scrimmage. He should have handed the ball off, or he should have been running. Why didn't he run more?
Because they were playing like they were down by 2 scores.
Yeah.
And
but that was I thought they were play calling odd.
Well, meanwhile, Todd Monken's getting plenty of head coaching opportunities now.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at this year. They've been on fire. But I thought there was a lot of blame to go around. And honestly, if they didn't have that fumble at the goal line, that fourth quarter looks a lot different.
Perhaps 855-212-4227. Let's go to Michael, who's in Reno, Nevada, wants to talk about the 49ers. They have fired the defensive coordinator. They fired their special teams coach, and I have a brilliant idea for them. If they don't want to pay Brock Purdy at the top of the market, well, how about this? Trade Brock Purdy to the Las Vegas Raiders, who would be glad to hand him the bag. What's up, Michael?
Hey, Maggie. Good morning. Hey, like your take on the 49ers right now. I got a lot here I'll try to get out of my head this early in the morning in Reno. Anyways, I'm going to start with John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. They're trying to win a Super Bowl right now, and the window is probably closing, as you guys are talking about. And they've been right to the end. And Kyle Shanahan, I don't believe, is a great leader and a great head coach. I think he's the best offensive coordinator right now in the game of professional football. With that said, I don't think there's a big difference between Brock Purdy and Jimmy Garoppolo. If you go back in 49er history, Kyle Shanahan is not able to tell his quarterback where the safeties are when they're making a decision to throw a pass late in the game. So if you can get Aaron Rodgers and Kyle Shanahan together for 1 year, I don't think that's a bad idea, Maggie. I don't know what the 49ers can get in a trade for Brock Purdy. I mean, I love the kid, but he's just not going to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. So I hope that all makes sense.
Yeah, Michael, thank you for the call.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Purdy it would be a late round pick for Purdy, right? Or
I don't believe this.
Like a 6th round pick?
What did Purdy do to have this fall from grace? When
it's not that. It's just you have to pay him all that money. Like, nobody wants to pay that money.
Teams are falling all over themselves to pay guys who have had not 1/8 of the success of Brock Purdy has in his small career.
Well, it's kind of like it's like when a receiver gets on the trade market. Like, how did that guy go for so little? Because teams will not trade big assets to pay a guy. That's just the way the NFL works.
Well, listen, you're not going to get as much draft capital if you still have to pay him. But to say, well, you're going to get a late round pick for Brock Purdy, what are you guys smoking? I mean, he's a top half quarterback in this league.
Yeah, but I think I don't know. It's the money. It's not like I don't know. I mean, there's very few. How many quarterback trades have we had? Actually, I'm trying to think of what's like an analogous trade.
I mean, Stafford going to Detroit. You had that.
I mean, that was a haul, but obviously that's
obviously
apples and oranges. You
Jets
can't
trained
compare
for
them.
Rodgers.
Oh, right, the Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers trades.
Yeah, those are the trades. I mean, first-round picks went into all of them.
Yeah.
Jets had to be a second-rounder, I think, because he didn't play. It was a weird thing.
Right, but Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson, there's nothing in Brock Purdy's resume like that.
He's been to he's been to comparable, at least Aaron Rodgers, Super Bowls. He didn't win. He was with an eyelash of winning.
More Super Bowls than Stafford when Stafford went.
Yeah, I mean, but Stafford is, they're a completely different kind of quarterback.
They're totally different
Stafford
quarterbacks.
was obviously like the man.
I'm just saying it's like Brock Purdy, all of a sudden everyone's treating him like Mr. Irrelevant again. Now that it comes time to pay him when he's been productive.
People want to pay him I think the average NFL analyst wants to pay him like Baker Mayfield plus inflation because that's who he is.
Let's get to Bogusch. He's got headlines for us, and you're welcome, of course, to call in on this at 855-212-4227. What's up, Bogusch?
Guys, most of us, Manny Rodriguez, aware by now that parts of the L.A. area are burning because of wildfires spread by high winds. The Lakers had to watch from afar playing in Dallas last night. This was head coach J.J. Redick pregame.
My family and my wife's family, my wife's twin sister, they've evacuated. I know that a lot of people are freaking out right now, including my family. And from the sound of things with the winds coming tonight, I know a lot of people are scared. So just want to acknowledge that, and thoughts and prayers for sure, and hope everybody stays safe.
As far as we know, the Lakers got back to L.A. as scheduled overnight after a 118-97 loss to the Mavs and after a 114-98 loss to the Heat. Warriors head coach Steve Kerr said his mom among those fours from their homes, also someone in their front office, is from one of the areas being affected by these horrible fires and horrible video and pictures all over the news and social media this morning. Regular NBA action last night. The Nuggets didn't have an ill Nikola Jokic. They lost at home to the Celtics 118-106. The Rockets 135-112 winners in Washington. And the Hawks stunned the Jazz 124-121 on Trae Young's half-court three at the buzzer. College hoops, Cooper Flagg showing off against Pitt.
They got it right the first time. And picked off. Flagg on the attack. Look at the slam! And a foul! Oh, my!
That's Dave O'Brien on ESPN with Flagg stealing the ball, needing just 3 dribbles to basically cover the entire court, jamming over a poor Panther. Flagg finished with 19 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists in a 76-47 Duke win. They are now on a 9-game roll.
I'm a big Cooper Flagg fan, but that dunk was maybe overstated on social
Number
media.
8, Florida smothered.
That was like he was 1 inch over the rim.
Can't you just
that was
sit
like a
one
rump
out?
dunk, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, Cooper Flagg just took it and yoked on his head." Like Zion Williamson, what he did last night, that was a dunk. Cooper Flagg was like, yeah, it was technically a dunk. He barely got over the rim, EJ. Don't look at me like that.
Because he was dunking through another human being. I think that might have limited the takeoff.
Also, are you really going to compare everybody to Zion? You're going to be really disappointed.
People are acting like this Cooper Flagg dunk was like Kevin Johnson on Hakeem. It was not that spectacular of a dunk, but please, go ahead, Andrew.
Old man yells at cloud.
I mean,
this is your guy, too.
Yeah.
I love Cooper Flagg.
This is your guy.
Like, I was watching
Not
this.
that
Like,
much.
I saw the tweet of like Cooper Flagg has like the dunk of the year. And I just saw it on TV. I'm like, oh my God, that's barely technically a dunk. Like, I like Cooper Flagg, but he's got a lot of physical development to go. This was not the dunk of the year. Boom.
Number 8, Florida beat top-ranked Tennessee last night, 73-43. And Georgia took down number 6, Kentucky, 82-69 for its first top 10 win in 5 years. As you have heard here all morning, the Raiders fired Antonio Pierce yesterday, but are keeping GM Tom Telesco. Tom Brady expected to be part of that coaching search. Pete Carroll's now expected to get an interview for the Bears vacancy, and the Patriots will formally interview Mike Vrabel tomorrow. The San Francisco Giants reportedly signing Justin Verlander for $15 million for the coming season. Northern Illinois is joining the Mountain West for football only, giving the league 8 football members. And pour one out for Manny Pucks. His Knicks in a 3-game free fall, and his Rangers threw away two separate leads last night.
Harley top of the zone. Robertson in front, tip, score! Jamie Benn, the captain, completes the comeback. And the Stars have beaten the Rangers
after being down 3-0 and 4-3 late in the third period. Guys, well, Maggie, back to you.
Sad Bogusch on a lot of
Defeated Bogusch.
fronts. I know. You're beaten down with Perloff's bad takes.
And the Rangers.
Bad things. That was basically a finger roll that people are treating like a dunk.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, I got to be fair to this guy. Like, there was another person right there. He had to dunk through this other dude. I
He
mean, I
also,
love
by
when
the
he
way,
said-
like sidestepped a guy and took three.
He ran 94 feet. Maybe that's why he couldn't jump more than 10 and a half feet.
when you said
Sorry.
what'd you say, a sad panther?
A poor panther.
A poor panther. I was thinking like a little animal
Guys,
down there.
You should tune in to watch. We got 3 or 4 games of Zion Williamson. Those are dunks. This is looks like a high school kid. Go ahead.
It was violent, though. Will you not give it that?
No.
What did you want him to do? Like some kind of dunk contest style dunk?
Or like shank him? I don't understand. Like what?
360 between the legs.
Yeah.
Did you guys see
like
that?
over a Kia?
Did you guys see?
Over Shaq.
I think it was Shaden Sharp the other day. Did you see that dunk?
It was Portland Trailblazers, so no, I didn't.
Shaden Sharp. Shaden Sharp hit his.
We love our fans in Portland.
Shaden Sharp hit his head on the
Oregon.
rim. Literally, like that was a dunk. That was like there are amazing things happen out there. I just think Cooper Flag, everyone's just hyping him. Let's put it that way.
You know why he was only over the rim, not to your liking? Because he took off outside the lane.
I mean, there's still pictures that Duke has posted. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, he jumped from 8 feet.
The other part, too, so the Zion Williamson dunk, so Zion goes 360 one-hand jam. But
By himself.
The defender didn't get back. He literally had the half court. He set it up like it was the dunk contest.
Right.
I was expecting Kenny Smith and Candace Parker to be there holding up 8 after. Like, if no one's going to play defense in the NBA, which... No one's going to chase down Zion because they don't want to be in a poster.
Right.
This kid from Pittsburgh, he's got to get back or he's probably getting benched.
And Cooper didn't pop a hip doing this. I'm sure Zion's going to be out for 2 more games.
I know. That's true. 855-212-4227. Perloff's not entertained.
There should be a GoFundMe page for Maggie's future mental anguish.
I don't take this stuff nearly as seriously as you guys. I actually expect it. If Perloff had been like, you know what? Good for Cooper Flag. That was an awesome dunk. I'd be like, what happened to you?
But I like Cooper Flag. I just think come on. I mean,
Every spectacular thing that happens in sports, Perloff's first response is,
Yeah.
well, LeBron. I said
That's
2 things. LeBron's dunk and Zion's dunk were crazy
That's
last
true,
night.
you did.
LeBron's dunk was out of control. I don't know how
LeBron
the
dunk
old
was
man did that.
ridiculous.
Yes. Better
But-
than Cooper Flag, but Zion's third.
You guys had to see what Shaden Sharp did the other day. Like, there's a lot of exciting stuff going on. That Cooper Flag dunk is just like, come on, the Duke kid. Oh my God, we love this guy. Whatever.
okay. We are going to turn our attention to college, but college football playoff semifinals kick off on Thursday. Josh Pate's going to join us next. It's M&P.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Perloff. College football playoff Perloff. Tomorrow.
Yes.
Notre Dame, Penn State get us kicked off. The Orange Bowl, Cotton Bowl. It's going to be Texas, of course, and Ohio State. Josh Pate's covering it all. Josh Pate's college football show, CBS Sports HQ, college football analyst and opinionist. Josh, it's Maggie and Perloff. Thanks for the time today. How are you?
Look, I'm okay. How are you two? We're in a new era. I don't know how you've been faring in this new era. 12 teams in this thing this year.
It's crazy. Well, actually, I wish it'd been a little crazier, to be quite fair, but I'm not one of those people, Josh, that says just because we've had some blowouts and here and there, that means the whole thing has to be blown up. This is sports. Blowouts happen. Blowouts happen when it was 4 teams. Blowouts happen when it was the BCS. I'm not someone who thinks that the whole system has to be overhauled. I'm not sure how you feel about that.
Well, it really... So I could go an hour on this. I will summarize it in like 30 seconds. I watch Netflix. I have a login. I have an account. There's several series that I like. And I like sports too. We don't always have to blend the two. You don't always have to pretend like we're running a production company. Just because the outcome doesn't always, suit your interests, it doesn't mean something's broken. It doesn't mean you have to run to your iPhone and record a 20-minute what's wrong with reaction video. Sometimes it just is what it is. I know that's dirty for people to hear, but sometimes you don't necessarily have to get what you want for something to be working.
Josh, you think the right four teams are in the final four? Is this outcome, or at least four of the top, say 5 or 6 teams have made it to where they are, and it's not really the bracket's fault that we have these four, as some people are claiming?
Well, so this is the trade-off, okay? If you're going to have an expanded postseason, you are going to get the best team in the tournament. You're not going to get necessarily the best team from the entire season. That's why Oregon got eliminated with the first game they played in the postseason. That is the trade-off, okay? Now, someone like me, I'm much more of a purist, traditionalist. I love the regular season to matter, a whole lot more. That's just because that's personal preference on me. But in terms of the expanded playoff, yes, we've got the right 4 teams because, yes, those are the 4 teams who have won and earned their way, which was the forever battle cry for playoff expansionists. And that was, we're tired of subjectivity. We're tired of a committee determining things. We're tired of AP voters in Des Moines, Iowa, voting on who the best team is. We want to see a tournament. We want to see it played out on the field. I know a lot of people, myself included, have had a lot of gripes about the format. That's very short-sighted only because I think that will be fixed. Maybe not as quick as folks think it will, but I think that'll be fixed moving forward. But by and large, yeah. I thought Georgia would beat Notre Dame. They didn't. So that's why Notre Dame's here playing in Miami tomorrow night, and that's why Georgia's sitting at home. I'm fascinated by the concept that an Ohio State team, guys, that would not have been in the 4-team format, would not have been in the 2-team format, has been given new life, and they're buzzsawing their way through this thing, which kind of shines some light on my theory that for all the folks who wanted expansion in college football playoff for a Cinderella opportunity, you're never getting that. The Cinderella opportunity is a flawed but still high-ceiling Ohio State team that gets a second shot or a third shot, new life breathed into their lungs. They're the ones who go on the run here. If you're okay with that, this playoff is for you.
Never heard Ohio State be compared to Cinderella, but I get exactly what you're talking about. I think the Cinderella is just, maybe getting into the playoff and winning a game, because you're right. This is the bluest of bloods that we could have here in the semifinal with Notre Dame, Penn State, Texas, and Ohio State. Let's dive into these 2 games, though, Josh, and we'll start with tomorrow night. So Notre Dame is a slight favorite in this game. I'm seeing about 1.5 points, so this should be pretty close. Can Notre Dame get the same game out of Riley Leonard that they got against Georgia and beat Penn State?
Yeah, I think they can. It's such a beautiful thing when you think about what that question is, Maggie. Can they get what they got out of Riley Leonard? So
not much in the passing game.
Right. Traditionally in late season playoff football, when you're winning, your quarterback's giving you 21 of 28, 305 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had 90 passing yards against Georgia. And he had no turnovers, and he had a lot of key third down conversions with his legs when they were trying to extend clock, kill game late. They can do that. That has to blend with something, though. So that's like a train car coupling. That has to couple with them being plus in the turnover margin or them winning on special teams. It's complementary football. It's 3-phase approach. Every coach talks about it. Every player talks about it. Most fans use that phrase, all 3 phases. I'm not sure they all mean it because I don't think most fans believe there are 3 equal phases to the game. There are when you play them properly. Notre Dame plays them properly. If they do, it doesn't guarantee a win. It's just that this Notre Dame team has to do that, or you probably got Penn State going to the finals. Penn State, I think it'll be tough for them to move the ball here, but you're asking yourself, okay, if we play even turnover football, what do we really need? 17, 20, that could win this game.
How good is Penn State's quarterback, Drew Aller?
Still think his ceiling, still think his best football at the college level is ahead of him. Talked to a couple of NFL scouts the other day, and what was funny is I'm reaching out to them in the hotel lobby asking, what are you guys hearing? They're asking on my end, what are y'all hearing? Like, is he going to come out? Is he going to stay? I would say it's like a 70-30 consensus. He comes back for one more year. Of course, we've seen in the past, guy goes crazy in his last couple of games. That makes the decision for him. I think he is in a situation where his best receiving threats are his tight end, which is the best in America, and his running backs, really. And you're playing against a Notre Dame team. I think we graded them number 2 in the country in man coverage snaps played this season. So you don't have a lot of zone looks to break down. It's your guy versus their guy. And with that tight end position especially, It doesn't take him doing what he did against USC, where he had 17 catches in one afternoon. It's just a few big stick movers. 3rd and 8 becomes 1st and 10. They've got to do something in the red zone here. Notre Dame's the same way, actually. I didn't mention this, but Notre Dame offensively is like number 1 in the country in going for it down there. They are very, very much all in on don't care what down and distance is. We're getting 7 if we get down there. Penn State's defense is number 1 in FBS in red zone touchdown percentage allowed. So Drew Aller, a couple of key 3rd downs for Penn State's offensively. Defensively for Penn State, probably a couple of 4th down stops needed down there in the red zone. That's likely the difference here.
Are you picking Penn State in this game, Josh?
I did. The Notre Dame folks were not happy, Maggie. I've gone 0 for 3. I think 0 for 4 now, picking against them this year. It's not been a good year for me. It is not. I'm ready, willing, and able to admit that last year's Washington is this year's Notre Dame for me, because I kept thinking, when is this going to end? And it almost never did. With Notre Dame, though, I've always been of the opinion that if your blueprint requires plus turnover margin, eventually that just runs dry one week. And so I keep rolling the dice that it's going to be this week. So I'm going to do it again. Here we go. It's gonna run dry here, and Penn State's going to win.
Well, Josh Pate is joining us. Josh Pate's College Football Show, great podcast, CBS Sports HQ, and also live stream, of course, on YouTube. Josh, I said not since the movie Rudy has Notre Dame been this popular. Like all of a sudden they're, the team you love, the team you love to root against, but I don't find a lot of people actually rooting against them anymore. Let's flip over to the other game, the Cotton Bowl, Texas, Ohio State. Ohio State 5.5-point favorite. I think a lot of people are having trouble coming up with a path here for Texas to win this game, considering how good Ohio State has looked in these first 2 rounds. Are you going to be the one to find a way for Texas to win this game?
No. It's as you described. That's exactly how I feel. Trying to find a path. I think I've said that 10 times this week. Because trust me, I want to find one now. I don't want to sound like everyone else. But I've watched them. I've watched Ohio State in person from field level the last 2 games they played. It's been such a quick and decisive blow. Think about this. In the Selection Sunday lead-up conversation, we were of the opinion that if Ohio State's going to do it, it's going to be like the toughest path of anyone. They haven't even been taken to the second half yet. They haven't even had a tough second quarter yet. So I will say this, okay? If you want the scenario, Texas does have the roster. It's the best roster, even above and beyond Oregon. It's the best roster. It's the best defensive line group. It's the best group of DBs. They allow the fewest explosive plays in the country, so they do make you work the ball down the field. That's there, okay? And you can also remember, because I think a lot of people have forgotten, Ohio State is without their center and left tackle. It just hasn't mattered yet. Texas has they have the different style athlete up front to interrupt. I call it kind of the crowbar and the bicycle spokes theory of disrupting timing and rhythm. And if you do that, like a crowbar and the bicycle spokes, it goes from you're moving pretty fast to all of a sudden you stop. You don't slow down, you just stop. So they can do that. But think about how crazy it is. We're talking about Texas's shot to beat Ohio State like most people talk about their shot to beat Texas. All these things have to go right. We have to get them off their A game. We have to muddy the game up, make it ugly. Texas is supposed to be the team that wants the style fight. They're supposed to be the team that wants to outscore you. That's just not in the cards here. But they can do it. Okay, there's a reason why, despite all this public support, this line is still under a touchdown. I'll put it this way. I will have to see it to believe it. I am not going to go wrong betting against Ohio State right now.
Josh, I have to ask, you said you were talking to some NFL scouts in the lobby. Did they ask you your thoughts on Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders? And if so, what did you say?
They did not ask me my thoughts on that. I think the whole quarterback class this year is really interesting because most years, I would say we've got like 1 or 2 guys where they are safely in the conversation. Any doubt that people may have about them is minor. It's quibbling, it's nitpicking. And then you got the next group, and that group has some more fundamental questions about them. This year, you can find those fundamental questions about every quarterback. You can find a guy, you can find a scout, you can find a front office type that can tell you every single one of these guys has a red flag or a concern that would keep them off my first round board. Then you can find someone else who can tell you that's top 10 quarterback. So that's one of the many reasons I just stick to like college football recruiting, because if you whiff on a guy there, he's got like 4 years to prove you right. You go spend a first round pick. Like I'm in Nashville normally. The Tennessee Titans are talking a lot about Cam Ward right now. If that doesn't work out, and you've got a new stadium opening in 2027, by the way, you're talking about an upset fan base going to an outright irate fan base.
Josh, you got 20 seconds left. I'm going to put you on the spot. The best coach remaining in this Final Four is who?
I think it's Ryan Day. I think Ryan Day 2 years ago was a missed field goal away from going on to beat TCU and winning it all, and it delayed the conversation that we are now 12 days away from having, and that is he got that one cherry on top that he already needed to reaffirm to everyone he is the real deal.
Josh Pate's college football show. It's a must listen. You can watch him, CBS Sports HQ. Have a great time. You're in Florida right now?
I am. Beautiful, sunny, snow-free Miami.
You've chosen wisely. Josh Pate, thank you so much, Josh. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Okay. Yeah, we get started tomorrow, Perloff. Ryan Day is the best coach. You agree with that?
No. I mean, Josh is way more college football. Not Ryan Day. Honestly, I think Sark can do some things. Like Day, what the heck? I still don't understand. I hear him talking about Ohio State, and I get it. And they're now massive favorites. But what happened against Michigan, Ryan Day?
Great question. Take it up with Chip Kelly. I don't know. I'm blaming the offensive coordinator. I get it. 855-212-4227. Appreciate Josh Pate joining us. Coming up, it's Wednesday. What does that mean? The great debate's on deck. Let's do it.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Took a couple days. Mark Davis had to think it over, but the Raiders part ways with Antonio Pierce. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Well, we're going to help the Raiders today. We're going to help the Raiders find a way to dig themselves out of mediocrity, or a little bit even less than that, and get relevant again, because the NFL is better when the Raiders are good. The Raider fan base has stayed loyal through, revolving door of coaches, Mark Davis mismanagement, bad luck, bad draft picks, just everything, Perloff. Let's try to help them a little bit, and I've got the perfect solution.
Yeah, good luck. They've had 13 coaches since 2000, and they have Tom Telesco, who probably shouldn't be a GM right now. So how are you going to fix this?
Okay, I've got two ideas for them. Number one, I think, is the one that seems to be catching on quite a bit, which is making a trade for a quarterback. Quarterback's obviously the number one thing. We can get to coaching and all of that, but quarterback's the number one thing. And I think there's an opportunity here because you're picking 6th in the draft. You can't just take whoever you want, because it looks like these two quarterbacks of Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, they might be off the board at 6. It's not a sure thing. So make a trade. I'm looking at San Francisco. I'm looking at a potential impasse between 49ers brass and Brock Purdy. They might want him to take some kind of hometown discount, some type of Mr. Irrelevant discount. And if I'm Brock Purdy, hell no. I'm not taking a discount. I've been great for you guys. It's not his fault that half the team got injured this year and that he himself also got hurt. Brock Purdy is a top quarterback in this league. He deserves to get paid. And if I'm the Raiders, I'll take him. I'll pay him. And the 49ers, you can go on your way, Kyle Shanahan, with Aaron Rodgers or Kirk Cousins, who you've been flirting with for years, or any of these other guys that you think you can turn into the next Brock Purdy. I'll take Brock Purdy. I'll pair him with Brock Bowers. Maybe I'll pay for T. Higgins. Maybe I can put a nice run game around Brock Purdy, just like the 49ers did. So, to me, I think this is where I would be looking number one if I'm Las Vegas.
So how are you going to pay Brock Purdy and T. Higgins, just out of curiosity?
Well, besides Max Crosby, who else am I paying?
So you're going to add the most expensive quarterback and the most expensive wide receiver.
Listen, there was a moment and there was a time when your Philadelphia Eagles had Jalen Hurts and also A.J. Brown. You had two guys who you were paying at the top of the heap.
Yeah, A.J. Brown is now it's not even near the top of the heap. But regardless, this is ridiculous. I mean, Brock Purdy's 5'11".
So, how tall is Jalen Hurts?
So you're not going to trade you're not trading anything to pay this guy $62 million a year. That's just not happening. That'd be the craziest move in the history of the NFL. And it obviously is not going to happen because I don't think the Raiders think they're Brock Purdy away from winning the Super Bowl. If you trade him and pay $65 million, you have no rookie salary cap relief. You basically, you have all this cap space. You're killing it for one guy that you can't build around. And he's probably the one good quarterback who needs the most support.
Okay, but I can't manifest a quarterback out of thin air. And I don't want to go back into another season with a Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell.
What is the difference between Brock Purdy's just a little bit better Gardner Minshew? You don't think Minshew would kill it with Shanahan? That'd be awesome.
Well, then why wasn't he the 49ers quarterback?
I mean, I think he might be down the road.
He's a career backup. Brock Purdy has proven that Brock Purdy is someone who's getting MVP votes 2 years ago. Like, let's not pretend Brock Purdy all of a sudden turned back into some pumpkin. That's not it.
He was definitely not good this year.
Well, what else was wrong with the 49ers this year? I'll give you the short answer. Everything. Everything was wrong with the 49ers this year.
Brock Purdy took a big step back this year, especially some of the picks and key moments at the end. And he was not good in the fourth quarters of big games.
Left tackle in and out of the lineup. Yep. Christian McCaffrey, a rumor. And Deebo Samuel hurt this year. Your special teams was awful. Your defense wasn't good. You fired both of those coordinators. Brandon Ayuk was out for the year. Ricky Pearsall was, we're just lucky that this guy's alive. You're going to blame that all on Brock Purdy.
Right. And
that's your fault.
With all that situation is still 5 times better than what you would be walking into in Vegas next year.
Well,
maybe
listen,
25 times better.
Raiders have cap space, and Raiders have Tom Brady in the building. And I don't, there's a report that Brady's going to be very invested collaboratively, I guess, in who the next head coach is going to be. And until Brady proves to me that he's not good at this, I'm willing to give the 7-time Super Bowl champion the benefit of the doubt. Let's see what he...
Good at what?
Good at recommending
a
head coach to Mark Davis, who Mark Davis apparently will listen to anybody. He'll listen to Jim Gray. I mean, I'd rather be listening to Tom Brady than, no offense, Jim, but a broadcaster.
So, and how is Tom Brady? He's going to fix the roster. So he's not only is he part owner and a Fox Sports broadcaster, he's also the GM.
I think he's going to be involved in the coaching hire and the quarterback. I don't think he's grinding tape on left tackles from North Dakota. I'll give you that. But I do think that he's going to be involved in these two key decisions.
Would you rather have a cheap veteran instead of the most expensive quarterback in the league?
I've done that. Jimmy Garoppolo got me nowhere. And these guys last year got me less than nowhere. So unless you are trying to execute a massive tank job, which I don't think they're trying to do this year, I've already done the inexpensive veteran, and I got Bubkiss. I think Purdy's still a good quarterback. I am not just going to get scared off because of this season. His numbers weren't as good.
You know this is not happening, right? Like, you keep on talking about
it to happen.
Do you really?
I do.
We have to hear from a Raider fan here because I think they would be like, the team would revolt if this happened. If they gave $65 million a year for Brock Purdy for 4 years, I mean, they'd probably be 2-15 next year.
How about the idea, though, of getting Shedeur Sanders? Now, that's the second part of this.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously you want Shedeur.
Okay, but you have to trade up with Cleveland if Tennessee decides to take Cam Ward, and Dion's going to have to make a gigantic stink about this. So it's going to be messy, a little muddy.
Yeah, that.
And it's going to cost you a lot in draft capital. So it doesn't cost you money, it costs you draft picks. So either way, you're paying.
But don't you have to give up a draft pick for Brock Purdy?
But I don't think it's going to be multiple. Like, to get up from 6, where the Raiders are picking now, to 2, especially if Cleveland knows you really want Shedeur and you're putting all your eggs in his basket, that's 2 first-rounders, minimum.
Well, what was the Panthers-Bears trade? What did they have to give up to do for Bryce Young? Was that 2 first-rounders?
Well, they threw in DJ Moore.
Yeah, okay.
Their best offensive weapon.
Yeah, that they didn't want to pay. So Regardless, yeah.
And then the Bears paid DJ Moore. Listen, you're paying either way. It's do you want to pay money? Do you want to pay draft capital? You're not getting out of this unscathed if you're the Raiders because you need a QB and everyone knows it.
I don't like that either because I think like he will not have the support. You got to really this is a rebuild. Also, the other thing, if you give up that first round pick, that might be the number 1 pick next year too, and Arch could be in that draft. So I'd be really nervous about that.
855-212-4227. I'm trying to be the ideas person here. I'm the one who's trying to be solution-based, trying to find something for the Raiders. You're just nixing all the ideas and not even giving any counters.
How about you tank and you go in for next year's draft class?
I think you're not going to be able to tell the difference. I think they were trying to do that this year, and they
couldn't. Right, if they
it.
paid $65 million for Brock Purdy and then had the number 1 pick and Arch Manning sitting there, oh my God, this would be like the all-time nuclear disaster of a team build.
You don't know, especially nowadays with college, whether Arch is actually going to come out next year in the draft.
Wow.
Like if he plays and he starts for Texas and he has a great season, yeah, he might leave. But I watched Peyton Manning many, many years ago. Everyone thought he was going to be coming out as the number 1 pick in the draft, and he decided to go back to Tennessee, and that was before you were even getting $12 million a year or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, but listen, we have no idea. There could be a Joe Burrow who emerges. Like, you don't want to, you're setting up for a really bad year because your roster's really thin. You're still kind of unburying yourself from the Mike Mayock era. You have to be careful about investing quarterback this year because next year could be the year. I would just full on tank. If I ran, I'm from the process. Like, Tom Brady has any say, like, go down to 0 and start over again.
855-212-4227. Okay, that's a little what's going on with the Raiders, a little what's going on with the news. On Wednesdays, we hit the Great Debate.
The Great Debate Series.
All right, everybody, buckle up. It's wild card weekend. Today's Great Debate, the greatest wild card game of all time. The source of the happiest and saddest moments of my life. I'll go first.
Yeah, why'd you get us started? That's a good tease.
I'll go first because I'm going to go to a wild card game where history was made.
32 yards from the center of the field. Adam Lingner ready to snap it back. It's 38 all. Bills can win it here. Reich puts it down. The kick is on the way, and it is good. And the Bills have won it. The Bills have won it. The Bills have won it. They win it 41-38. Incredible. What a comeback by the Bills. And the fans are all over the field. Incredible. This place is pandemonium.
Fun fact, Steve Christie's cleat is in the Hall of Fame from that game-winning kick, January 3rd, 1993, the largest comeback in postseason history, and one of the greatest games that I actually do remember watching as a kid. I was 10 years old for this game. I was actually 9. I hadn't even turned 10 yet. Jim Kelly gets hurt the last game of the season, also against the Oilers, by the way. He hurt some ligaments in his knee, so who has to come in that game? Frank Reich. Reich starts the next game, of course. They're down 28-3 at halftime. They're down 35-3, a minute and 40 seconds into the third quarter. And then you guys know the rest. Bills come on, this furious comeback, force the game to overtime, where the Oilers got the ball first in overtime, by the way. Bills came up with a stop. That's the old overtime rules. Bills win 41-38. One of the greatest moments of my life. I get excited just thinking about it. Giddy, goosebumps. How do you not love sports? Greatest wild card game ever. Bills come back over the Oilers, 41-38. Frank Reich. I was more nervous to meet Frank Reich than Jim Kelly's. Hand to God. All right, EJ, go ahead.
All right, so when a game has a name to it, that is usually a good sign. So that's why I'm going to the Catch 2 in San Francisco.
It's all or nothing now. 8 seconds to go. Third down. Young almost falls down. Throws to the end zone. Owens! He caught it! 25 yards! Touchdown pass! Terrell Owens! He hasn't held on to anything, including his fingers, all day, and he makes the winning touchdown catch somehow, some way.
Couldn't hold on to anything, including his fingers. What a call there.
Amazing.
Terrell Owens. So I'm a comic book fan, and I love origin stories.
Oh,
to me,
are you?
this is the Terrell Owens origin
Breaking
story.
news.
Yeah, this is the Terrell Owens origin story. I mean, this is where he really came into his own, right? So he has this awful game where he's dropping all these passes. And then on the final play, essentially, of the game, Steve Young, 25 yards out, drops back, throws an absolute laser down the middle. Owens gets blown up in the end zone, holds onto the ball after several drops in this game. 49ers beat the Packers in the 99 wildcard game, 30-27. Unlike most of these picks you're going to hear, no bad gaffes, no teams blowing leads, no teams dropping the ball in the big spot. Like, this was high-end football. And in fact, the only guy that didn't play well then made the biggest play of the game, and it began his ascension into a Hall of Fame career. It was kind of the last great moment for Steve Young and Jerry Rice playing for the 49ers. So one of my favorite games, kind of one of the, you talk about childhood memories, Maggie, one of the childhood memories I have growing up is seeing this game being like, wow, football is awesome. Niners versus Packers, my favorite wild card and the best wild card game of all time.
Great debate today. The greatest NFL wild card game of all time. Manny, go ahead, kid.
All right, one of my earliest football memories back in 2006.
Last weekend.
Yes,
I
that's
almost
right.
spit my water out.
I was 9 years old in 2006, y'all.
Yeah.
I've only been here for 3 wildcard weekends, so the pickings are slim.
Martin Gramatica setting up for a field goal with Tony Romo holding.
Meanwhile, here's Gramatica. Romo holds. 19-yard field goal attempt. Oh, it is fumbled by Romo, and then Romo's going to run to the end zone, and he's going to get tackled by Jordan Babineau. Amazing.
Unbelievable.
How crazy is this?
Warms my giant heart. I love
You
watching
picked this just because it was the Cowboys?
Oh yeah, I would have. I probably would have picked Beastquake, but you know what? Watching the Cowboys just absolutely flaunt all over themselves, and Tony Romo. Oh, I close my eyes right now, and I can picture that still of him botching that snap. Oh baby, 20-19 Seahawks win on a Saturday night in 06. Let's go.
Oh God! Somebody in Dallas is being like, "When was that boat game? Was that a wild card game?" Because I want to bring that up.
Yeah.
No, we all drowned in that boat.
Timberland's on the boat. It's a bad idea. Many
Tim's are
ways
a great
than one. Okay, Bogusch, we're doing the great debate, the greatest NFL wildcard game of all time.
Well, our sweet, sweet Maggie once asked, how could you not love sports? Because of things like this.
Do the Titans have a miracle left in them in what has been a magical season to this point? If they do, they need it now. Christie kicks it high and short. Going to be fielded by Lorenzo Neal at the 25. Pitches it back to Wycheck. He throws it across the field to Dyson.
He's got something.
30,
He's got
40,
something.
50.
He's got it.
40,
He's got it.
20, 10.
He's got it.
End zone. Touchdown Titans. There are no flags on the field. It's a miracle.
I hate you.
Before 13 seconds weren't enough for the Bills, 16 seconds weren't enough either in this game.
Hating you more.
This is the Music City Miracle after the 99 season. That was definitely a backward lateral from Wycheck to Dyson.
It's definitely a forward pass. But
Do we need to get a physicist on to settle this debate?
Multiple physicists in Buffalo have debunked this.
To their credit, the Titans kept winning that January, made the Super Bowl, almost won said Super Bowl. The Bills shockingly went in a different direction from there. I didn't realize that this game was the last game as Bills for Andre Reed, Bruce Smith, and Thurman Thomas. And then the next season was a disappointing 8-8 campaign, and that's when we lost the great Wade Phillips era in Buffalo running things.
How could I forget?
So I present ushering in the Greg Williams era.
Ushering in 17 years of playoff drought.
So I, again, add to the group discussion the Music City Miracle.
All right, Bogusch. I think we've had enough of that.
Someone had to do it.
Did they?
And I
How about
happily
the boat? We could have done the boat. Odell on the boat.
No.
Okay, Perloff, you're up.
Okay,
The greatest NFL wildcard game of all time. Sorry.
We've been in a
Odell on
great
the boat.
debate since, I think, 2021. I don't think I've ever heard 4 bigger oversells than you guys on these 4 wildcards.
Oh.
Maggie, you just said you were more nervous to meet Frank Reich than Jim Kelly. That was the most ridiculous line of any great debate I've ever heard. You got so involved in selling that game that you lost all touch with reality. EJ is saying that Terrell Owens is like the Wolverine because of a meaningless wildcard game. Maggie, I respect your anti-Cowboys take. I don't even remember which one you did, Bogusch.
I went anti-Maggie.
Yeah, that was good. I enjoyed that.
Okay, thanks.
I'm left with the highest scoring playoff game in NFL history. January 10th, 2010, a wild card matchup between the Green Bay Packers and the Arizona Cardinals.
Extra man on the blitz. Rodgers gets a hand to the face. The ball is out. The Arizona Cardinals win it.
Out of breath. Describe the play for us.
We had the play call early in the game. We missed the sack. But when the game was on the line, we called it up again. Money Mike made a great play. He made the sack. The ball went in the air. I just made a play on the ball.
Wow. Kurt Warner in that game, 29 of 33, 379, 5 TDs, and no picks. That is a day, Maggie. And unlike, did your guys at any of your games, did any of the teams go on to win anything? No, I don't think so. Mine didn't either, actually. The Cardinals lost. The Cardinals lost the next round to the Bounty Gate Saints. But 2009 Cardinals versus Packers should be like, wait, people would be like, did Rodgers win it all that year? Was that the year? No. Did Arizona make the Super Bowl and lose to the Steelers? No, that wasn't the year either. But I have some pretty big numbers in this game, and therefore I'm going with what I was left with.
Wow.
I'm sorry, just what you said. I was more nervous to meet Frank Reich than Jim Kelly. I'll bring Frank Reich in right now. You don't need to be nervous. He's around. I saw him in the coffee room. He's best friends with Boomer.
His college roommates, 2 studios down. Get my makeup done
There's
next
a
to him
Jim
every
Kelly
day.
ball right over your shoulder.
No, I love that. From Sully, our pal.
Yeah. Anyway, no, that was, yeah. I kind of got the last choice on that one, but I was researching this game. A lot of fun.
There you go. The greatest NFL wildcard game of all time. That's our great debate for today. Did any of your people go on to win? Mine didn't.
I really sat here like, wow, man, maybe he's right. I guess the Cardinals did go. No,
Doesn't
the Cardinals still have never won anything.
Yeah, doesn't the 2009 Cardinals Packers feel like one of those teams could have gone on to the Super Bowl?
Definitely. I was like, damn, how did I not know that?
But at least we knew with the 2 Bills games, we knew they didn't win the Super Bowl. That was obvious.
Yeah, because I forgot about all the Lombardi trophies that the Arizona Cardinals have laying around.
Whatever. Manny brought up Tony Romo. We know he doesn't have a ring. He's a loser.
And we laughed and we
At least
laughed.
EJ did have T.O. and Steve Young. I'll give him that.
Jerry Rice had guys who won multiple Super Bowls.
Facts.
Well, Young had one.
Many years before your game happened. Go ahead.
855-212-4227. Bringing up some good memories, some painful ones. Best NFL wildcard game of all time. Let's go. Okay, Perloff, I'm a winner. Not my Bills, necessarily, but I'm a winner. Every time I play Prize Picks, I'm on a heater right now.
You're putting in the work, Maggie. That's what I appreciate.
Well, it's about the NBA.
Yeah.
And coming up this weekend, it's going to be about college football combined with NFL. This is what I love about Prize Picks. Not only is the app easy to download, but you can pick 2 or more players across any sport, whether that's football, college football, NFL, basketball, college basketball. 40-plus states, including California and Texas, are all on board. You've got to get on board, too. Prize Picks, now accepting major credit cards for quick and easy deposits into your account. One of the best parts of my day is winning my Prize Picks and then coming in and telling Perloff immediately.
Yeah, I mean, you're using like analytics. I feel like it's a little ridiculous. Some of the stats you've been throwing my way because you're so engaged in this. It's awesome. I might need some help today. And I cannot wait to enjoy this during football. All you have to do is download the Prize Picks app and use the code MNP to get a $50 credit instantly when you play just $5. That's code MNP on Prize Picks to get a $50 credit instantly when you play just $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game, must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
It's a miracle!
You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. Great debate. Wednesday, greatest wild card game of all time. You can call in on that. I still want to hear from Raiders fans. Maggie wants to give you Brock Purdy and $65 million. It's not her money. She's like, what the heck? I don't think that's the route to go. I'm not sure what the route to go is. But Shedeur Sanders, say you want to trade up to get him. That's a tough way, too, because you got to give up a lot of assets. So if you could solve the Raiders or pick the greatest wild card game, we want to hear from you. 855-212-4227. What's going on the poll for greatest wild card, EJ? Because you can leave mine off if you want to. I'm going to volunteer that.
I mean, I thought about leaving off Romo because Manny opened up with that. It was his Giants bias that led that pick.
Yeah.
Well,
That
it's
was
also like a
great.
negative.
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
You know.
Well, you could argue your game, the comeback, was a negative from the Houston standpoint.
That's true. It is called the 93 wild card game. It is called the comeback for
Not the
some
collapse.
of us. It's not. It's called the choke for the Houston Oilers fans, for Warren Moon.
Oh, do they really call it that? Because
They really do.
I know the game as called when I say the comeback, that kind of jumps to mind.
Oh, definitely. It was called the comeback.
Yeah.
But
is there any other game called the comeback? Not really.
No, I mean, this was the
Yeah.
greatest comeback in the history of the postseason.
Yeah, Music City Miracle
Well, we all know
is a
about
good
that.
one.
Thank you.
Yeah. What's the nickname of the TO catch that you had? Steve Young,
Catch
the
two.
TO. Oh, they call it the catch too?
They
Yeah,
do.
in the Bay Area, definitely.
And Manny's just the Romo snap. And he gets so much pleasure out of this.
It is a pretty iconic wild card moment.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's go to Raul. He's in Colorado. Raul, we're asking for the greatest NFL wildcard game of all time. What do you got?
Yeah, for me, I'm definitely going to be biased a little bit here, but this year was 2012. Tim Tebow, Broncos beat the Steelers in overtime. First play of the overtime, Tim Tebow hits Demaryius Thomas over the middle, wins the game. May he rest in peace.
Let's hear it.
And here we go. First snap of the overtime. The Broncos have been in 3 overtime games this year. They won them all. Got him at the 40. It's Thomas at the 50. Stiff arm got him free to the 30, to the 20. Thomas to the 10. Denver's going on to New England. They win it on the first play of overtime.
Just shocking. Raul, thank you for the call. It's a great one. Just a stunning result, right? And because Tebow was like on this weird heater at the end of the season, even though the season hadn't gone particularly well, Perloff, and they were all about to get fired. They run into the buzzsaw in New England, which ended up just dashing the Broncos' hopes. But it was such a stunning, shocking result that Demaryius Thomas was that wide open.
Well, right. Tim Tebow had a heater, but he was always run plays. Like he wasn't having any success over the air. No 70-yard touchdowns. And the Steelers were such a institution at that point. Like we never expected them to lose there. And right, they got rid of Tebow immediately afterward.
And Josh McDaniels gets fired, I believe, the next year, midway through the next year. No, my timeline might be wrong on that, but he got fired very soon after.
So wait, McDaniels had Payton the next year? Because that was Tebow. Did Tebow play another game as a Bronco?
I believe John Fox was coaching Denver for Tebow.
No, it's Josh McDaniels was the one who drafted him.
So wait, and Tebow is gone right after that game, right? Am I mistaken about that?
No, I don't think he was gone after that game. We're talking about the 2011. What are we talking about here? Wait, no, I don't. I think you guys are wrong about the coach.
No, John Fox coached the Denver Broncos in 2011.
Where was Josh McDaniels then for Tebow?
McDaniels
drafted
Tebow.
McDaniels drafted Tebow, but I'm looking at it right now. John Fox.
Fox was there for this one.
Yeah,
okay.
They only finished 8-8 that year, but made the playoffs. And then they beat the Steelers, and then they lost 45-10 to the Patriots.
Right, and then they moved on.
I was at that game. Tom Brady set more records by halftime in that game than I'd ever seen.
Then they got Payton in that wild free agency the next year and gave up on Tebow.
Yep.
Yeah, Kyle Orton was a starting quarterback the year before with Josh McDaniels. Tebow came in relief late that season. That was Josh McDaniels. That was the end of Josh McDaniels. But Josh McDaniels didn't even get to coach Tebow, I think, because he was already fired by then.
Yeah, Josh McDaniels was let go in 2010 after the videotaping scandal.
Oh, man, I'm so sorry about that. I could have sworn that Josh McDaniels was on the sideline there, but my apologies to John Fox.
He drafted Tebow, though.
Yeah, right.
All right, now I'm an idiot. Videotaping scandal in 2010? What was that?
The NFL, the Broncos were under investigation for videotaping a Niners walkthrough practice during their Week 8 game at Wembley Stadium.
Man, I wonder where Josh McDaniels got that idea.
Yeah. I was like, you mean the 2007 videotaping issues? It was a procedural error, is what all my Patriots fan friends say.
I remember DJ Williams, Miami Hurricane, he talked about this scandal. He was like, we started 6-0, and we were like, wow, like we're doing great. Like we might win the Super Bowl. Like, what's going on? And then he heard the rumors that there may be a video scandal. And remember, the rest of that season, I think they won only 1 or 2 more games. And he was like, man, we were cheating the whole time. That's why we were 6-0. It's a hilarious clip.
Yeah, it definitely makes a difference. It definitely makes a difference when you know the other team's plays.
I mean, I'm going to imagine there were multiple reasons the Broncos moved on from Josh McDaniels at that time. Not only were they not winning, like McDaniels is that's the thing. We're in this coaching cycle. Like, he can be hard to get along with, is what people. He's very, very smart, but he's not always user friendly as a coach, right? He's a tough guy.
No, it's the people who are trying to do the Belichick impersonation.
Right.
And you don't have the rings.
Right.
So it falls really on deaf ears. And you don't have all the answers. Belichick, I think, really siloed his assistants off. So the offense and the defense, I don't think he ever, remember he was going to share the keys to the kingdom with Josh McDaniels? How'd that work out? McDaniels ended up fleeing to go to Vegas. I don't know.
By the way, the videotaping scandal happened during Tebow's rookie year. So,
okay. Thank you, Manny. NFL wild card.
You guys had questions about who was coaching Tim Tebow. Sorry for clearing that up.
You did. You don't remember it.
I used to say while learning it for the first time. Tim Tebow.
Andy doesn't understand. This is also, I'm a grad teacher. This is his master's degree as well. He's learning sports. Like, this is all part of a advanced course.
Yeah.
Yes, postgraduate.
It's a miracle!
Thank you. Greatest NFL wild card game of all time. Let's quickly get to Blake, who's in Oregon. Blake, go ahead.
I'd like to bring up that Marshawn Lynch game, the On My Dick game. He broke 9 tackles. Oh, excuse me. He broke 9.
Oh, wait a minute. Can that word can't go out over the air?
And trust me, it did not.
It did not.
It almost did.
We're on a 10-minute delay.
I didn't know the game was called that. Did you guys?
It's called the Beastquake game. Is that what he's talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Marshawn Lynch did that thing.
He grabbed the thing.
He grabbed himself.
Don't say did that thing after that drop. That sounds provocative.
It was provocative.
And now more guys do it all the time.
All the time.
That's not helping.
Are they flagging that, by the way? I don't think I think Jamison Williams did it recently. I don't think he got a flag for it.
I think finally they didn't. The last guy that did it, they didn't flag for it. And it was like, okay, maybe they are.
Just letting it go.
By the way, I am seeing several. I just sorry to the Odyssey, search history is going to look at this and be like, what the hell is EJ looking at on his computer? But I did search what was said on the air, and it is referred to that by some folks.
Oh, he gave like a post-game interview?
I don't know why or where this came from, but if you just search what the caller said, that yes, that does come up.
Do you remember when it wasn't for this celebration, but the pelvic thrust one where the league had an acceptable number of thrusts? Hingle McCringleberry apparently.
Yeah,
Hingle McCringleberry. That's
I'm on Rossi Brown.
Penn State Hingle McCringleberry.
2 thrusts, fine. 3, you're out of here,
you're
mister. Yeah. How dare you? There's children watching. All right. Well, yeah, we do remember that Beastquake game. That was a hell of a wild card game. Bogusch, you've got updates for us.
Well,
Take
guys,
it away.
Apparently nothing in college basketball matters because of Shaden Sharp, but I'll tell you these things anyway. Top-ranked Tennessee, no showing at 8th-ranked Florida, losing 73-43. Now every D1 team has a loss. Bruce Pearl is the winningest coach in Auburn history, courtesy of the second-ranked Tigers' 87-82 win at Texas. 20 points and 12 boards from Johnny Broom. Cooper Flagg, 19-10, and Duke's 9th win in a row, 76-47 over Pitt. And number 6, Kentucky, took an 82-69 tumble at Georgia. As for those high and mighty pros, the Celtics beat the Nuggets minus Nikola Jokic.
5 on the shot clock. Tatum dribbling between his legs, gets himself in rhythm, starts his drive in the paint, stops, dotted line, jumper, got it!
Ooh. That's some serious stuff like that. When things are going wrong, give it to your doggone big dog and let him work.
12 straight for the Celtics. Timeout, Mike Malone.
Sean Grande, Cedric Maxwell on Celtics Radio. Boston, a 118-106 win in Denver with Jokic home sick. The Heat.
Sorry, we need more barking on our play-by-play.
I couldn't tell if he was barking or doing work, like the song. Because he said, let it do work.
I thought he was like, let the big dog eat. Did he say let the big dog eat?
No, he said let the big dog do his work.
Woof, woof, woof.
And then he did work.
All right, Manny, can you isolate that while Bogusch continues on? Did Cedric Maxwell go work, or woof, woof, woof? Back to you, Bugs.
The Heat 114-98 winners at the Warriors the night after a double OT loss in Sacramento. The Lakers falling in Dallas 118-97, even though Luka and Kyrie remain out for the Mavs. The Hornets snapped their 10-game skid 115-104 over the Suns. And Trae Young a half-court three at the buzzer to get the Hawks a 124-121 win in Utah.
12 straight for the Celtics. Timeout, Mike Malone.
Yeah, I still
can't tell.
I still hear work.
12 straight for the Celtics. Timeout, Mike.
That's a yappy dog.
That sounds like my little dog Lita, who's like 30 pounds. That's not a big dog.
That's not a big dog.
That dog that interrupts our calls only weighs 30 pounds? I thought it was a German Shepherd. That is one loud little dog.
Yeah, she can bark.
Your dog, the one dog, it's not just doorbells or fireworks. EJ's dog responds to cell phone calls.
Yeah, even when you have the phone on vibrate, she's barking.
Yes, it's ridiculous. I love my dog Lita, but it is. No one can call the house. You can't FaceTime. You can't Zoom.
Is that because she needs your full attention at all times?
Yeah, I think so. I think she thinks she runs the house. Well, our door trainer basically told us that. She's like, she's relented number 1 spot to Andrea, but EJ, you're number 3 in this house. She clearly thinks you're the.
I mean,
12 straight for the Celtics. Time.
Wait till you have kids. Then you'll be lucky to be
You're
number
off the board
Bogusch, right? Like
completely.
number 3, I'd kill to be number 3 in my house.
Yeah, I'm just happy the door's open when I get home. Thanks for letting me stay here, guys. It's like a hostel.
Bunk beds again, huh?
All right, fine. Whatever, 3 squares. I think the Dolphins story is that Tyreek Hill remains unhappy but hasn't actually asked to be traded yet. Here's GM Chris Greer.
The one thing I would say is in a frustrating season, he was very emotional. And I think all of that with him playing through his injury just kind of bubbled to a point.
Head coach Mike McDaniel said he and Hill spoke open and honestly for an hour Monday. Part of that convo was making sure Hill knew it would never be okay for him to refuse to play as he did in the fourth quarter on Sunday. Vikings D coordinator Brian Flores said yesterday he'll accept any invitation to interview for a head coaching job. The Bears, Patriots, and Raiders at least expected to be interested. Flores is finishing his second year in Minnesota. He's 3 years removed from being fired by those Dolphins. And Ashton Genty officially declared for the draft yesterday. Justin Verlander reportedly headed to the Giants for $15 million for the coming season. And the Toronto Maple Leafs got their 5th straight win, 3-2 in Philadelphia. Guys, back to you.
Bogusch, thanks so much. Our great debate today, the greatest NFL wild card game of all time. We're also trying to fix the Raiders. Got any ideas? Do it all next. It's M&P.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
Bogusch weeps. He's got the road trip blues. Left behind, feeling like he's bound to lose. Perloff's off to San Antonio. Can't believe his eyes. But Bogusch stuck at home. His heartache amplifies. Betting against Wembyama, Perloff took the fall. But it's Bogusch left behind, feeling 10 feet tall. A loser in his own right, can't catch a break. Road trip dreams shattered, for goodness sake. For goodness sake. Bogusch weeps. He's got the road trip blues. Left behind, feeling like he's bound to lose. Perloff's off to San Antonio. Can't believe his eyes. But Bogusch stuck at home. His heartache amplifies. Betting against Wembyama, Perloff took the fall. But it's Bogusch left behind, feeling 10 feet tall. A loser in his own right, can't catch a break. Road trip dreams shattered, for goodness sake. For goodness sake. Bogusch counting the minutes, ticking like a clock. While Perloff's cruising highways, Hilarion tall. San Antonio shining, the city's calling their names. Bogusch sitting home, stop playing life's cruel games. Bogusch weeps.
45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Got a lot of news going on today, but on Wednesdays, we do something called The Great Debate. And with the wild card weekend upon us, we are asking what is the greatest NFL wild card game of all time. Glad to see at least one person agrees with me. That would be the comeback 1993 Buffalo Bills against the Houston Oilers, the largest comeback in postseason history, 32 points. Bills win 41-38 in OT. Logan in Rochester is backing me up on this one. Hey, Logan.
Hey, Maggie. How you doing?
Great. How are you?
Very well. I didn't hear the beginning part of your segment, so I didn't realize that you had picked the comeback as the number one comeback for the wild card, and it should go to the Bills, even though it's an unbiased opinion on my part.
I know. Listen, a call from Rochester agreeing with me about the Bills.
Exactly.
You can't make it up.
Yes, and I believe it wasn't a wild card game. This next one, but I believe it was the next highest comeback was 33-0. It was 2022 Vikings, and they ended up beating the Colts. And their coach was Frank Reich, who ended up throwing or being quarterback in the comeback game.
Yep.
So it's kind of just a kind of full circle kind of thing. But I just don't agree with you.
You know what's funny about that? Logan, thanks so much for the call. Double check me on that. Was that Frank Reich who was coaching that Colts game, or was that Jeff Saturday? Was Jeff Saturday the head coach of the Colts against the Vikings? Remember when Jeff Saturday left ESPN and took over the Colts?
Yeah, I know. I think he was. Pretty sure he was.
Who?
No, it's Saturday. Sorry.
Yeah, right,
I'm
Saturday.
pretty sure it was Saturday, yeah.
I don't know why I'm remembering that way, because I remember Saturday they actually started his tenure with a win, I believe, over the Raiders.
Yep.
And then they lost the rest of the games.
Yeah, that was because I remember, what was the guy? Irsay was being like, we might bring Jeff Saturday back. And then they blew a 33-point lead, and they're like, we're going to look at other candidates.
We're going to go outside the box on this one.
We're going to go college and pro.
Offense, defense, and special teams. That's what the Bears were bragging about yesterday. They're going outside the box, guys. Offense, defense, and special teams. So there you go. Yes, Sean, Oregon. Sean, what's the greatest NFL wildcard game of all time?
Well, it's one of my favorite seasons, and I'm a Steelers homer, and I'm going to go back to 1989 when the Steelers had to come back and beat that Oilers team like your Bills did. And that was the great Oilers teams with Warren Moon.
Mm-hmm.
And Bubby Brister and the Steelers drove down the field, a few minutes left, and Merrill Hodge scored the touchdown, ran the ball in with like 46 seconds left, threw it in overtime, and the Steelers won by a field goal. And then they went on and lost to the Broncos by a single point that season. That was Chuck Noll's final season with the Steelers. That was a great team, with one of my very favorite teams.
Sean, thanks for the call and the memory there. Fantastic one. I'm noticing a trend here. Mm-hmm. Every single one of the games that we picked, Perloff, the team that prevailed in that awesome wild card game never went on to win the Super Bowl. And how many of them even got to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, there are very few Super Bowl teams who needed to win a last-second wild card game. But
well, sometimes it propels you.
I'm sorry we hung up on Sean. I wanted to ask him. The first thing that came to my mind, I was like, I want to do an old school one. Have you guys ever seen the NFL Films video on that controversial Oilers-Steelers game where the guy caught the ball on the very tippy toe of the end line and they took a touchdown away? Steelers went on to win the game more easily, but the Oilers were this up-and-coming team, and it was Mike Renfro, but it turned out that was the AFC title game.
Yeah, Bum Phillips famously went into the locker room and just said, "We were robbed."
Yeah, if there was replay, that would have been one of the wild scenes, because even to this day they debate whether that. So it's interesting. The Oilers Steelers definitely back in the day, it's hard to remember what's a wild card game, what's a divisional game. Felt like those teams really went after each other in the playoffs.
Not to just bring a correlation to present day, and you're still welcome to call in with your wild card games at 855-212-4227. But it's like these great wild card games, but they don't end up leading to the Super Bowl. We're watching the college football playoff, and I know this is the first year of 12 teams, Perloff, but what are some of the themes we saw? The teams that had a bye, had a break, were the ones who end up going home. You have no conference champions in the Final Four. It's like this running start, if you will, whether it was college football playoff or sometimes even the wild card, like Aaron Rodgers won the Super Bowl as a wild card. Obviously, the Giants have won Super Bowls as the wild card. Sometimes it feels like it gives you this momentum, but as we're talking about some of the great wild card games of all time, it didn't see it all the way through.
Yeah, I wonder if that's an aberration for college football. Maybe it just sort of worked out that way this year. There was so much parity. I mean, you saw Oregon was the number one team, but they beat Ohio State by the thinnest of possible margins at home early in the season. It wasn't like we had a powerhouse that had a bye and lost. I mean, I think, if Oregon had a different seeding, they might have been in the final game. They're great. They might be the second best team in the country, but generally, I'm not ready to declare the bye is doomsday yet. Do we have enough of a sample size?
Definitely not. I don't think so either. I think the bye should be considered a positive, a bonus, a reward, if you will, for winning your conference. Because, listen, not to nitpick, but wasn't Arizona State one missed, targeting call away from bucking this trend? And Arizona State would have been obviously the Cinderella story of this bracket, and we would have said, listen, they got some rest, and look how it helped them.
I do think the 4 top seeds being conference champions, that's got to go. Because, listen, SEC wasn't great this year, but you're risking a lot to have the ACC and the Big 12 represented is not always going to be fair.
Okay, but if they're going to make changes to the format, and they're going to say, okay, conference champions no longer get an automatic bye, well, you know who has to sign off on that? Everyone from the ACC and from the Big 12. Why would they say no to that?
Because they have no power, because the SEC has all the leverage.
No, but it has to be a unanimous vote. I believe I'm right about this. It has to be a unanimous vote for them to change any of the formats. So if I'm the ACC and the Big 12, I'm like, I'm not voting for this. I want to keep our conference champions with automatic buys.
But it's always looming, though. Is the SEC saying, fine, then we don't need this system anyway. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I might call their bluff on this one.
I mean, come on. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I know the SEC's down a little bit, but let's look at the ACC. I understand Notre Dame is in the Final Four, but generally, SMU, Clemson, like I think there's still a big gap. I think the two top conferences are much better, and I do think the fact that Ole Miss is home, South Carolina home, and Alabama's home, I think the people in the SEC are rightfully like, wait, this doesn't seem totally fair.
Yeah, tough year to stump for Alabama. I don't think this was the right season to do that.
I hear you, but then again, like, do you think Alabama could have beaten some of these teams? For sure.
No.
I mean, they beat Georgia.
Yeah, they did.
They
I get
whooped LSU. I mean,
but
who
you have
did?
Texas here who lost to Georgia twice. So
You can beat Penn State and Alabama on an open field. You're sure they win that game? I'm not at all.
I would just watch Alabama get smoked by Michigan in a bowl game. I'm not sure that Alabama's beating Penn
that's
State.
an exhibition game. That
Yeah,
means
but
zero
guys
points.
were playing.
Sort of. Jalen Milroe's body was there. I don't know where his mind was. He did not seem to care or even have any awareness that a game was going on around him. You cannot judge a bowl game. Look, historically, the bowl game results have no meaning on what really happened.
I guess the one thing that I would like to change is I thought it was a great atmosphere to have games on campus. Maybe that's a way you change it. And I know these bowl people don't want to give up, had their neutral sites and all the stuff that comes along with it. But I think having more games on campus, maybe the second round, that's awesome. Like if Oregon had been able to host that game against Ohio State, maybe things are different. I don't know.
Just re-rank it 1 to 12 because otherwise, or reseed it in the second round, like reseed it in the second round. That's fine.
You can do that?
You could give the bye to the conference champions, but you can't have Oregon playing Ohio State in the first round or the quarterfinal. It's not fair.
Coming up, we are answering some big questions about this college football playoff. Who's the best coach left in the Final Four? Who's the best quarterback left in the Final Four? All of that gets determined in mere moments. It's Maggie and Perloff.
So I have a read, but I'll do that for the second read. This is Andrew Perloff with an Odyssey Sports Minute. This is Andrew Perloff with a Sports Minute. The Steelers enter
Bogusch weeps. He's got the road trip blues. Peter Black's got something to say about Tom Brady and a roast on that day. He's angry and he's speaking his mind, saying Brady was out of line. Should've known better, should've thought twice before agreeing to that roast. It ain't right, talking about his ex-wife crossing the line. Peter Black, he says someone needs to find that children shouldn't have to hear all of that. It's not fair to them, it's a matter of fact. Brady, you messed up.
I'll never stop, no, I'll never be done talking about Peter Bellotti, the missing one. Day after day, his stress empty and cold, but I'll keep singing cause the truth's been told. Oh, glorious love, you say I've lost my way, but I don't care, I'll talk about Peter all day. You think it's a problem, or maybe that's true, but I'll never quit, got stuck like glue. You're the dodging the fight, or just taking naps, avoiding the light. I don't need help, I'm doing just fine. I'll keep racing by Peter till the end of time.
EJ's at the bar with a cold, cheap beer. Says Trey Young's no big deal, don't bring him here. But the Knicks lost again and it's starting to show as he punches the jukebox playing Old Town Road. I'm over Trey, he shouts as he tips his hat, but his phone's buzzing with Hawks game stats. Pickups parked outside, girls waiting to ride, but EJ's ranting about Trey instead of his bride. EJ don't care about Trey Young, no way, but he's crying in his beer when the Hawks outplay. Just a small town punk with a lucky streak, but Trey's living rent free every Knicks lost week. EJ's got a shotgun rack and a pickup truck. Trey can't break my spirit, I don't give a. He's got a girl on the side, but she's feeling ignored, cause EJ's busy yelling Trey can't score no more. I'm over him, he growls as the whiskey pours, but he's watching replays from game before. Small town pride, a Knicks fans fight, but Trey's shadow looms in the neon light. EJ don't care about Trey Young, no way, but he's crying in his beer when the Hawks outplay. Just a small town punk with a lucky streak, but Trey's living rent free every Knicks lost week. EJ don't care about Trey Young, no way, but he's crying in his beer when the Hawks outplay. Just a small town punk with a lucky streak, but Trey's living about revenge Knicks parade day.
Okay, so let's go to the games that are really mattering right now, Pearl. And that's, of course, the Orange Bowl, which kicks off tomorrow. Amazing. Penn State, Notre Dame, 1.5 point spread. And then Friday, the Cotton Bowl, Texas and Ohio State. Ohio State, a 5.5 point favorite. But if I asked you to rank the 4 quarterbacks left in this matchup, so, of course, Texas, Quinn Ewers, Ohio State, Will Howard, Penn State, Drew Aller, and Notre Dame, Riley Leonard. Who's your 1 through 4?
This is the hardest assignment I've ever had on the Maggie and Perloff show because all of them have really positive attributes and really negative attributes. So, okay, I'm going to do this in an interesting way. I'm going to start with each matchup. Who do I think gives a better chance of winning Notre Dame, Penn State? I think Riley Leonard. So I'm going to put him above Aller. And who do I think gives a better chance of winning in Ohio State, Texas? I think Will Howard over Ewers. So that means that I got to go. Now I'm going to choose between Howard and Leonard. I will go Will Howard, but I think it's closer than you think because I think Riley Leonard will do whatever is needed for Notre Dame to win. When he flipped over that guy in the Georgia game, like Georgia's defense is no joke, and he had such a gutsy performance. So really what I'm giving him such a close call as number 2 is the intangible thing. I know that's kind of weak, but I just think he's going to do whatever Notre Dame needs to do to win. He's an older guy. So I'm going to put Will Howard. But again, Will Howard is just a thin number 1. He's probably like seeing the field the best right now, but he was terrible against Michigan. 19 for 33, 175 yards, 2 picks. So if you pressure him, then Howard will become a pumpkin, but he is throwing the ball really well. So I go Howard, Leonard. Then I'm going to actually go Ewers because of experience a little bit over Aller, but I have all 4 really close. Now, Aller is really handcuffed because I don't think that offense is any good. Like, he doesn't really have anyone to throw to. He's probably the best pro prospect here, but as far as these guys coming into these 4 games, I have him 4th.
I don't think it's really that much of a question in that Will Howard is clearly playing the best of all 4 of these quarterbacks right now. Yeah, you want to go back to the Michigan game.
That was 2 games ago.
But look at who they've beaten over the 2 games, and that's where I'm going to give the nod to Will Howard. Well, they destroyed Tennessee. Tennessee, SEC, coming to the Horseshoe off of that big loss, and he was phenomenal in that. Everyone was phenomenal in that game. Ohio State was a wagon. And then the second game, to beat Oregon in the way that they did and for the offense to explode against the number 1 team in the country and the number 1 team in this tournament, I think it's without a doubt that Will Howard is playing the best. Now, if you had asked me a month ago, maybe my answer is not the same. But right now, it's absolutely the same.
Yeah, but I mean, like, do you think Manny or EJ could throw for 300 yards on that? What is the skill to throw to Jeremiah Smith? Like, just get it anywhere near that dude, and he's going to box out everybody and catch the ball. So you have to account that in this debate. That is definitely part of it.
It's not 7-on-7. Oregon had a defense out there. Tennessee had one of the best defenses in the country.
This is arguably, Ohio State, once again, one of the great receiving corps in college football history. So I think, yes, you're crediting Will Howard, but was it really Will Howard or was it the receiving corps?
If you're giving me these 4 quarterbacks and you're asking me who do I want right now to go try to win this whole thing, it's Will Howard, and I think he's number 1, and then we've got a little bit of a gap. And secondly, I would go to Drew Aller next, actually. I would go to Aller as second on this list. And listen, it's tough because besides Ty Warren, he doesn't really have a lot of weapons here, but he is helped out by the run game. And I think if you are picking Penn State in this game, you and I have not made our picks for this game yet, but I'm leaning Penn State, and it's because of Drew Aller, at least the ability to push the ball down the field. I don't know if Riley Leonard can really push the ball down the field, at least
Penn
to Warren.
State team?
Yes. And number 3 to me would be Riley Leonard. A little of what you said, the do-it-all factor. Obviously, a guy throws for 90 yards against Georgia. That's not impressive at all. But the box score didn't tell the story there. Everything he was doing to keep drives alive with his legs, all of that. And I'm putting Quinn Ewers as a 4th, which I think is kind of surprising considering he's the guy who had the 5 stars next to his name at some point. But to me, Ewers, it was an all-time 4th and 13 play that will live on forever in Texas lore. But think about that. I mean, it took a miracle for them to beat Arizona State. Double overtime. I'm putting Quinn Ewers. He's the quarterback I trust the least right now.
Yeah, but then again, it's such a confusing thing because he's arguably the best quarterback of that group. He just feels a little bit hurt right now. And the fact that he's not really moving much puts them at a disadvantage. They really should have, I think they got complacent in that Arizona State game. They should have put that away early. Something happened. Wasn't the finest day for my guy, Steve Sarkisian. But then again, if I told you Quinn Ewers would go out there and play better than Will Howard with Shark coaching him, I don't think that'd be a huge shock. The thing is, Ohio State has other ways to beat you.
Yeah.
Texas needs Ewers to go off.
I'm not so sure. We've been waiting for Arch. Arch hasn't really been a thing yet in this playoff. I can't imagine they would wait long. I mean, what we saw in the first Georgia game was kind of not fair to Arch Manning, I thought. Georgia just jumped out on Texas, and they went to Arch in a panic move and then went back to Ewers. I think if they go to Arch this time, they're sticking with Arch, and that's it. And I wouldn't be surprised if they get down, if it's 2 touchdowns, they're going to Arch.
Yeah, I mean, Arch came in. Didn't he come in that Georgia loss early in the year? And
that's
didn't
what I said.
Anything? Oh, sorry, yeah.
And that was a bad spot to put him in, and then they went back to Ewers after halftime.
Yeah. The fight thing. So you think I really disagree with one point you had. I think in a close game, if it gets down to it, and you have Drew Aller in that offense against Riley Leonard in that offense, I feel like the experienced guy, Riley Leonard, who's a lot older than Aller, I would give him the edge. And just in the college game, yes, Aller is a fantastic prospect, but I feel like the way that they're playing right now, he only threw for 80 yards, and Notre Dame was perfectly happy with that. They were run. And even when he did drop back, I was screaming at Georgia. I'm like, he's not going to throw it. He's going to run for 8 yards. Stop it, Georgia. Just get up, bring everyone to the box. They're not going to throw the ball. I thought that was actually a really brilliant game by him. He's a very good college quarterback. I don't know. I heard second or third round for Riley Leonard based on the fact that he did throw a lot at Duke, or at least somewhat. We'll see. They're all right in the same boat. Will Howard to me is a mystery because you saw when the pressure got on against Michigan, man, he panicked a couple of times. He definitely did. I don't think Texas can get to him like that, but I am not that confident in him. It's not like we have it's not like we have Trevor Lawrence in this group. It's not like we have
Stroud,
or Tua. It's not like we have an obvious superstar quarterback.
I don't know. I'm looking at Will Howard, and it's not just about the numbers, but I mean,
Ewers
completing 83% of his passes against Tennessee. They won 42-17. Even against Oregon, the number 1 team in the country, he's 17 for 26. That's about 65% of his passes, 319 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks.
How hard is it to be the Ohio State quarterback? I mean, honestly, I can't wait till next year when whoever comes in there what if they get an even bigger arm than Will Howard?
So beyond quarterback, which is just one part of the equation here, we were talking about the college football playoff. We also have 4 head coaches who have a lot on the line. I would say a lot to gain. I don't know how much. How do I want to say this here? Aside from James Franklin, I think he's the only one actually with something to lose of these four coaches. I think Ryan Day has taken himself off if there even was a hot seat, I think that he has taken himself off of it with the way that Ohio State has turned things around over the last 2 games. Mm-hmm. I think that Sark, I think Texas is just so happy to be back still. The fact they were in the playoff last year, they're now in the Final Four this year. I don't think Sark is in danger of losing the fan base. You lose to Ohio State where you're a 5.5-point underdog. I don't think he's in any kind of danger. Say Marcus Freeman. I think Notre Dame's so thrilled that this is where they are and that Freeman's here. I don't think that it's a negative. He beat Kirby Smart. He coached the doors off of Kirby Smart. I think they're happy. James Franklin's the only one to me who actually has something to lose because I think that can he win a big game question mark is still out there. And the perception is that Penn State got the easiest path here. Playing SMU at home in cold weather and then getting to play Boise State, which is a great story, but he hasn't actually proven that he can win a big game yet.
Yeah, but I think he's perfectly safe. I mean, obviously Penn State, I still think Penn State probably feels somewhat lucky to get him. I mean, nobody else, it's going to be hard. They've had a string of big recruits under Franklin. I don't think they would pass on that. I mean, who are you going to bring in that's better? That's going to get a Drew Aller there.
I'm just saying he's the only one who I think would get criticized for losing in this round.
Yeah,
I don't think the other guys get criticized.
The spread is so close. I don't think they get killed. I don't think he gets killed for losing this game.
Well, if they come out and they lose 35-10, I think he's going to get killed in this game. That's my opinion. But we're ranking these coaches. So if you went 1-4,
how is Notre Dame going to beat them 35-10?
I don't know if Notre Dame's beat anybody 35-10.
Yeah. I feel like this
besides
game
Navy.
It's going to be 16-13. Okay. You're not going to like my ranking. I'm going Sark 1 because I feel like he is secretly the best coach out of this group. Marcus Freeman 2 because he's on fire. Ryan Day 3 because he killed me in a bet on Michigan. I will never forgive him. And James Franklin 4 for obvious reasons. He definitely has not won the big game. They always feel tight in the big games. And I'm not convinced by him either.
I put Marcus Freeman number 1 here. I was so impressed with what they did against Georgia. And I know that this Georgia team wasn't like the years past. I get they were on a backup quarterback. I totally understand all of that stuff. I'm there. I'm here week to week. But Kirby Smart is the man in college football now, right? He's the guy. Saban's gone. Jim Harbaugh is gone. He's the guy.
Well, yeah, because he has great players. He's not like an X's and O's super genius or anything.
There's a lot of great players out there, and there's a lot of Saban assistants who couldn't beat Saban until Kirby Smart came along.
There's no depth chart in the history of the sport like the 2021 and 22 Georgia defense.
No, there were Alabama teams that were just like that.
Not that defense, but go ahead.
I will put Freeman number 1 here. I'm actually going to go with Ryan Day number 2. I think he gets so much criticism, and then look what happens. Beat the brakes off of Tennessee, beat the brakes off of Oregon, and it's like, well, we still got to see if they're going to revert back to old Ohio State. Guys, they're not. They're not. They figured this out. That was a horrible, horrible loss against Michigan. It's been multiple horrible losses against Michigan, but I don't think Ryan Day is a bad coach. Sark would be 3, and then James Franklin is 4 for me. See, you and I both have James Franklin 4. He's the guy. He's the only one of this group who will get criticized if they lose. I believe that.
No.
I don't know. If Ryan Day loses, that'd be bad because they're the biggest favorites. I mean, he might keep his job, but I think he will be much maligned. Because I think everybody's pick of this game is an Ohio State blowout. If Day somehow with that much talent, right now because Texas is a little banged up, the talent differential feels pretty big to me. Josh Pate said that on paper Texas is as good as anyone. I don't know. I feel like Ohio State, we've been waiting for this team as the defensive players get older. We've been waiting for JTT and Sawyer to be elite. They have all the defensive players and they have this dream team on offense. They really should win this game. You don't think Day will get killed if he loses this game? I think it'll be bad.
Yeah, I think
especially if they play conservatively on offense.
I think he's turned things around. See, I don't think they're going to play conservatively. I think that's I don't think all of a sudden you're going to see that Michigan game plan. I just don't.
The only way that happens, the only way this is a game, if Texas D-line just tortures Ohio State's offensive line, going to be tough. I mean, actually, they played really well against Arizona State overall. They were murdering that quarterback for most of the game. If they can do that to Ohio State's linemen, then of course Will Howard's going to come back to earth because any quarterback under pressure is not great. That's an interesting challenge. Now I hope it's a close game just to see how Day and Shark match up against each other.
855-212-4227. All right, a look at the college football playoff from the quarterback and the coach's perspective. It's Wednesday, which means the great debate. We are asking you today, what is the greatest NFL wild card game of all time? EJ, I'm just going to go out on a limb and assume that my choice is winning the poll so far, which is shorthand. It's just called the comeback, 1993 Bills over the Houston Oilers. Am I right about that?
You are right about that. So the poll is up, and right now we're looking at 50% say Bills Oilers 93 is the greatest wild card game, followed by the Catch 2 at 22%. The Music City Miracle is at 20%, and Perloff's Cards versus Packers Shootout in 09 is at 7%.
There are no flags on the field!
Can you read the other poll results?
We can't do a highlight from any other game?
By the way, yes, other poll results. So we also did just throw up it's early, but who is the best QB left in the college football playoff? Right now, Drew Aller leading the way at 33%.
No, do the ones that Maggie and I were debating.
Oh, so let's go earlier. There is no Purdy poll, I don't think, but there is a Tom Brady poll. Will Tom Brady help the Raiders get back to winning football? 21% say yes, 78% say no.
Well, let's do yesterday's poll, too. If you had to start a team, which QB would you rather have, Trevor Lawrence or Brock Purdy?
So that one is now closed, so no more added votes here. Trevor Lawrence, 64%, Brock Purdy, 36%.
How about this one? Would hiring Mike McCarthy be a good idea for the Bears? You get the point.
I'm like, how fast you want me to scroll here, bro?
60% say no. Maggie, you're going against the grain a lot.
Listen, it's not my fault that I see things clear. I got the chessboard in front of me.
I think you need glasses.
Everything.
I think you need glasses because Trevor Lawrence is 6'4" and Brock Purdy's 5'10".
Okay, who's won more playoff games? Here's the thing. This is the Brock Purdy, Trevor Lawrence debate from yesterday was a lot about salary and how much money should he get, and should he get Trevor Lawrence money, and blah, blah, blah. The Brock Purdy debate for today is Brock Purdy as the solution for the Las Vegas Raiders.
It's not a different debate. It's the same debate.
It's a different, slightly.
It's how good you think Brock Purdy is.
Exactly.
Well, I think we should ask an expert about this.
Yeah, well, we can, and an expert and someone who knows the Raiders organization better than anybody, and that is their former CEO and current CBS Sports football analyst. That'd be Amy Trask, the one and only. She's going to join us next. She knows the Raiders. She knows everything they're about. We'll get her thoughts on their head coaching search moving forward, and my idea that they should trade for Brock Purdy. 855-212-4227.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff. Oh, Maggie, is there any better feeling than having our upcoming guest come on the show?
No, not at all, because we need not only her positive attitude, but we need her expertise here, because you can't fix the Raiders. I'm trying to. She knows the Raiders organization better than any of us, and that's Amy Trask. She's the former CEO of the Raiders, of course. Now you can listen and watch her on What the Football with Susie Schuster, which is a fantastic podcast, of course, on Tops on CBS Sports Network. She wrote a best-selling book called You Negotiate Like a Girl. It's on my bookshelf. Amy Trask, thank you so much for getting up early for us today. Hey, Amy.
Well, thank you very, very much for having me. It's always a pleasure to join you. I would get up at any hour for you, and I was already up. And by the way, I've had a lot of caffeine this morning, and my husband often says when I have too much, I'm a little bit like a hummingbird on speed, so get ready.
Fantastic. This is what we want to hear, because we need answers from you, Amy. At least we need to try to get answers, because I'm sure your phone blows up anytime something like this happens with the Raiders, because you were with them for so long. They say goodbye to Antonio Pierce. Tom Telesco is going to stay as the general manager, but here we go again, looking for another head coach. My first question to you is actually about the Tom Brady of it all. You know that organization well. Tom Brady has said that he's going to have some influence here on the coaching decision. How much influence do you think Tom's going to have?
I think he'll have a significant amount. How we define significant depends on, how we view that term. But do I believe he will have input? Yes, I do. Do I believe his input will be valued? Yes, I do. But there's another name we're not hearing bandied about as we hear Tom's name bandied about, and that is Richard Seymour. And the reason I mention that is just as Tom has purchased an equity interest in the team, so too has Richard. You know, I had the tremendous pleasure of working with Richard when we were both with the organization at the same time, and I know him to be wise and intelligent and just thoughtful, and I use thoughtful in every sense of the word. I think they should take input from Richard as well as from Tom.
But structure-wise, it seems like there are a lot of voices in owner Mark Davis's ear. And you obviously worked with Al Davis, who felt like he was more of a one-voice guy. Like, can this work for a team, Amy, where just the owner has to take so much input? Like, how do smart owners deal with this? Like, how do they know who to listen to and who not to listen to?
Well, can it work? Absolutely, it can work. Will it work? We don't know yet whether it will work. Look, I'm a big believer that when making a decision, one should elicit and factor in input from anyone that one believes can contribute in a helpful manner. At the end of the day, though, you're right. Mark is the controlling owner of the team, and he can take all the input he wishes, but ultimately will have to make the decision. And even, here's the thing. When you are the controlling owner of a business, any business, not just a team, you can delegate authority, but you have ultimate authority. And even if you delegate that authority, you can always yank back that delegation. Ultimate authority and ultimate responsibility rests with the controlling owner. So go ahead and take all the valuable input you wish, but make the decision you believe is right.
Amy Trask is joining us, the former CEO of the Raiders. What the Football with her and Susie Schuster is a must listen. Also tops on CBS Sports Network. You know, Amy, the idea about, do you need somebody who has some coaching experience versus taking a chance on a coordinator who has never been in the top seat before? How you've been in these rooms, how do you make that determination on the coordinators who have no head coaching experience? Like Ben Johnson is the hot name now. What would you want to hear from someone who's never sat in that seat? What do you want to hear that would convince you that they're the right person?
I would have to be convinced that they have leadership skills beyond X's and O's. Now, look, X's and O's are of crucial importance, but you want a coach who can lead an organization, lead a team. At the end of the day, you can have a coach in place who isn't the best offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator, as long as you then surround those people with the best. I would rather have the best leader imaginable, and if I don't think that person is as skilled as should be when it comes to the X's and O's, I'm getting the best coordinators imaginable.
Amy, do you think that Antonio Pierce got a fair shake here? Was there any good argument to maybe give him more time to try to develop this team?
I do think there's an argument for that. I don't know whether that was factored into the decision or not. The team played hard for Antonio. We saw when he took over partway through last season, he brought back, for lack of a better word, I'll say oomph. He brought back, I'll go with strength and passion and oomph that we hadn't seen for a while. And that continued this season. Even when the team was out of a game, we saw players playing hard. Even when the losses mounted, we saw players playing hard. They obviously have to solve the question at quarterback. Would Antonio have been different in that role with a different quarterback? I imagine he would have. But there were, as I understand it, some issues going on within the organization that suggested that they wanted to make a change now. Could he have improved over time? Sure, he could have. They obviously didn't show that patience and decided to move on now.
I mean, tough assignment. You go into a season with Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell, and Desmond Ridder in the AFC West, and you're asking to go up against, some really good quarterbacks and coaches. Good luck to you with no legitimate quarterback, no franchise quarterback, I should say. Amy Trask is joining us, breaking down the Raiders here and a little bit more. Amy, I'm curious if you have any knowledge about a relationship maybe between Deion Sanders and by extension Shedeur Sanders with Mark Davis, because we know with Tom Brady, he's one of Shedeur's mentors, right? We know there's a relationship there. Obviously, the Raiders are picking 6th. Maybe to get a Shedeur Sanders, you might, have to make a really big trade. But do you know if Mark Davis and the Sanders family have any connection?
Well, I'm going to answer that, of course, but I do want to touch on one thing you just pointed out, which is a tremendous point, Maggie. You always make tremendous points. The AFC West, I mean, look at the three coaches in the AFC West that you are playing against, and look at the quarterbacks in the AFC West. Great point you made as to the division and the competitiveness within the division. Look, let's talk about connectivity. Tom Brady is connected to Mark Davis and to the Raiders through Jim Gray. That's how Tom and Mark came to have a relationship. That's how Tom came to purchase an equity interest in the team, through Jim Gray. And the reason I point that out is connectivity is important. Those connections matter. And as you noted, there is a connection between Tom and Shador and Dion. So irrespective of whether there's a direct connection between Shador and Mark and Dion and Mark, and they are connected, of course there is connectivity. You've really got sort of multi-step connectivity. You've got Tom connected to Mark through Jim Gray. You've got Dion and Shador connected to Tom, connected to Mark. So there are a lot of interesting connections there, and I would not be at all surprised to see if there's some movement there to see what can be done, whether with respect to Shador or another quarterback. This draft, as you know, is not as deep on quarterbacks as last year's was.
Amy, I look at the Raiders roster, though, and for Shador or any quarterback, like it feels a little offensively thin right now. I know you have a great tight end in Brock Bowers, but Shador comes there. Is the line and the wide receiving core good enough to really help him get like a great start in the NFL?
Just one moment on Brock before we move on. Imagine the numbers Brock Bowers could have put up this year over and above that which he did with a different quarterback. I mean, those numbers would have just blown the lid off everything, and he already did pass innumerable records. There is a need for more on offense. Josh Jacobs left. He's now having a terrific year. I'm a big fan of the running game. The better the running game, the better the passing game, because if the opposing defense needs to stop a tremendous runner, that's less defenders you can put on wide receivers, tight ends, and less you can focus on getting to the quarterback. So, I think they would be wise to look at the offensive line, as you noted, wide receivers, as you noted, but I would also emphasize the running game.
Amy Trask joining us. She's the former CEO of the Raiders. She's the person we go to with all Raiders questions. Of course, also on Tops on CBS Sports Network, and What the Football with Susie Schuster, which is fantastic. Saw you guys had Stephen A. Smith on. That's very fun on the most recent pod. So, Amy, you said that I have great ideas and I make great points. Well, my co-host might disagree with you on that, and the internet for that matter.
Excuse me. Then he's wrong. I mean, let's just say right now.
Keep an open mind. Keep an open mind, Amy, on this one particular idea.
Amy, you might not want to back me up on this one, and it's totally fair if you don't want to. That's okay, because I've got an outside-the-box idea for the Raiders, and I'm curious if you think there's any merit to it. And my outside-the-box thought is if you can't get a quarterback this year, you still, in the draft, you still need a quarterback, right? This is the one thing the Raiders need. What about calling up the 49ers? And if they don't want to pay Brock Purdy at the top of the market, if I'm the Raiders, I'm welcoming him with open arms. What do you think about the idea of calling the 49ers to trade for Brock Purdy? Do you still think I have good ideas?
Well, before I get to your idea, I assume you understand the irony of you asking me this question after the absolute pillaging I took last year for sharing some thoughts on Brock Purdy. But the fact is, he is a far, far, far better quarterback than anyone on their current roster. So, my answer to you, and you're going to say, oh, Aim, come on, you're being sort of mamsy-pamsy, you're equivocating. Guys, I went to law school. You are going to get a law school answer. The answer is it depends on what you would have to trade to get him. Is it worth considering? First of all, we don't know if the 49ers would do it. We don't know if the Raiders are interested. But let's just stipulate, Your Honor, for the moment, that the 49ers would be open to that and the Raiders would be open to that. It all comes down to compensation. What do they want? Because is he better than what you have on the roster? Absolutely, positively, yes. What are you willing to give up to get him? I don't know how much they would be willing to do. So do I think that you're a nut? No, I do not think that. Do I think that Perloff should always think you're incredibly intelligent? Yes, I do. Do I think it's hilarious that you asked me about Brock Purdy? Yes, I do. Do I think it's an intriguing idea? sure, if the 49ers are interested in doing it and you're willing to give something up, it would be an absolute improvement to your roster.
No, Amy, I was with you on all that Brock Purdy stuff, by the way. You had a supporter in me.
Well, it's good to know. I will tell you that I had a speaking engagement recently, and I was speaking, and everybody was good-natured and very fun about the whole Brock Purdy thing, and afterwards a relative of his came up to me and gave me a big hug and said, we didn't think people should be so mean to you because after you said what you said, you did offer to take him out to ice cream.
I'm telling you, Amy, there is a Purdy army. You say anything negative, I don't know where they are now. They all left. They fled the bandwagon, I think. But there was a Purdy army that was very vocal online.
No kidding.
Yep.
No kidding.
Amy, I'm the fiscal realist of this group of Maggie and Perloff. I am about the bottom line. And Maggie, and I'm sorry to say, you in this case, you got to pay Brock Purdy. Like, you're going to give Mark Davis his money. You're going to use all your salary cap with no talent around Brock Purdy. You can't do that.
Well, I mean, look, all teasing aside, you're absolutely right. It's trade-offs. And the question, and look, I'll say it again, the question I always ask in these instances is, and do what? Right. Whenever we had a quarterback or a coach that fans would say to me, you got to get rid of him, I would say, and do what?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And do what? If you can't answer that question with an answer that is at least as good, if not better than the status quo, then what are you doing?
Well, Amy, and last one from me, I think that's maybe what Jerry Jones is going through right now. Not to flip from the Raiders to the Cowboys, but you fire Mike McCarthy and do what? Who are you going to bring in? But, Amy, I'm curious from your point of view as the former CEO of the Raiders. So Jerry blocked Mike McCarthy from interviewing with the Bears. Does that mean he's necessarily giving Mike McCarthy a new contract? It seems kind of vindictive, sort of mean to block a guy and then show him the door.
Well, you've been so kind about mentioning What the Football, and the reason I bring that up is you and I are of absolute like mind. Maggie, I expressed almost this exact sentiment yesterday on What the Football with Susie Schuster, severalfold. Number one, the former NFL executive in me, the lawyer in me says, okay, you know what? Jerry negotiated a contract which gives the Cowboys exclusivity until the 14th. You negotiated that. In theory, you baked that into the compensation. You have every right to protect that exclusivity for the next week, roughly a week, a little less than a week. But if you've already made up your mind that you're moving on, you know what? Do the right thing and let him talk to other teams before other openings dry up. I think you're exactly right, Maggie. Mm-hmm. See, again, Andrew, we're talking about Maggie being very, 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 very smart. I think you're absolutely right, Maggie. I think they're engaging in the and do what analysis. Look, do we want to keep them? Don't we want to keep them? If we don't keep them, what are we going to do? Is the answer any better? If you've already made up your mind you're not keeping someone, then free that person up to talk to other people. Putting the contract aside, it's the right thing to do.
I'm feeling like I'm like the second favorite child in this conversation.
Yeah, you're the third wheel.
I feel like Maggie could throw out anything right now. Because I've never gotten anything but love from you, Amy, my entire career. And now being next to Maggie, which I understand, but she is your correct. It was just Brock Purdy. Everything else she said today was brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, I love you both, and as everyone knows, not in a weird or creepy way, but Andrew, I love you too.
I love you as well.
That's awesome. Amy, you're the best. Thanks for doing this. We appreciate it. We come to you for everything front office and business of football because you know the business inside and out. Thank you.
Honest to goodness, always my pleasure and honor to do so.
Thank you. Amy Trask, the one and only What the Football with Susie Schuster, tops on CBS Sports Network. And honestly, her book, You Negotiate Like a Girl, is a fantastic book. She did a great job.
Oh, yeah. It's so funny because we could speculate about the Raiders all day. She has like her finger on the pulse of what's really going on.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Like these are some huge challenges ahead. Like they have big decisions coming.
I mean, the Jim Gray, Tom Brady, Sanders family triangle, or I guess Mark Davis kind of makes it a rectangle. But
I heard Richard Seymour on a podcast with Schefter a couple weeks ago. Oh, I would listen to that guy. He still stayed up on the game big time. Maybe he has a say as well.
These are two, I know Richard obviously went on to play other places, and so did Tom, but these are two New England guys, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, Seymour, I guess, made a big impact because he was a Raider as well.
It was a shocking day when he got
I
traded
just
to
worry,
the
like,
Raiders.
even if these are good voices, when you have 8 voices in your head, because you also have Tom Telesco, the GM, I think that's a lot. And you got, I don't know if your teenage sons are playing Madden and making any revelations.
I think that's just Woody Johnson. 855-212-4227. Okay, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll get the latest headlines with Andrew Bogusch and more of your calls. Our great debate today, the greatest NFL wildcard game of all time. We did not ask Amy about that. Maggie and Perloff.
It's a miracle!
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Our thanks again to Amy Trask, former CEO of the Raiders, who joined us to talk about what lies ahead of them, and some interesting stuff there from Amy, as always. But, you know, we're talking about Tom Brady being so involved in the coaching search. She said, don't sleep on Richard Seymour, also very involved, and somebody whose opinion is going to be taken into account.
Yeah, I mean, he was a baller, too. I just don't get this. Like, this is not, I'm not hearing solutions that are going to work. I'm hearing classic mistakes of too many voices in Mark Davis's ear. I don't buy that a former great player can be a great GM out of nowhere. And he's not even the GM. He's an owner. And we're ignoring the fact, and you're ignoring the fact that the guy's still in the television booth and is going to be there till at least February 9th. Like, he's going to draft a quarterback. He's going to find a coach. Like, I don't know. I feel like Tom Brady's spread kind of thin and then totally unproven. It feels like a pipe dream. This is all going to come together and work.
I think he's got a short list. The big question is Vrabel. You know, it seems like such a no-brainer that Vrabel would go to the Patriots, former player there, not a Belichick assistant technically, even though he played for Belichick. So maybe he breaks this cycle.
But you have pretty much like 5 offers sitting there for Vrabel. Why would you want the Patriots, except for them being your former team?
Well, that's it. He's in the Ring of Honor. I think some ways that could be a negative, though. Sometimes you have such a great reputation. People love you. You come to the team and you fail as a former player. Now, like, look at Gerard Mayo. I don't know if anyone's holding this against him, but, you know, do you risk damaging your reputation with the team if it doesn't work out?
Yeah, definitely.
That's not a reason not to take it, but.
I mean, here's the thing. You have a great quarterback and a crappy roster. So that's a dicey spot. Like, to see that team turning around fast, I love Drake May, but there's a lot of damage to undo from Bill Belichick's draft record of the last 5 years.
Yeah, I don't know. Their defense has guys on it, and you need some upgrades on offense. That's for sure.
I'm looking at the defensive players. I'm like, who are these guys? I mean, yeah, they don't have any guys. They have Christian Gonzalez. Then you can just basically throw out the rest of the roster.
Andrew Bogusch is here with headlines for us. It's Wednesday. What's going on?
Guys, this Raiders decision leaves us with 6 head coaching vacancies around the NFL. The Patriots met yesterday with Byron Leftwich and Pep Hamilton. Mike Vrabel gets his sit-down tomorrow. The Bears' list of potential interviews apparently includes Pete Carroll, but the Cowboys have reportedly denied the request from Chicago to interview Mike McCarthy. The Jets are meeting today with Chiefs offensive coordinator Matt Nagy. Dan Campbell said yesterday that they expect David Montgomery back next weekend for their playoff opener. The running back sprained an MCL back in Week 15. For the first time since early November, Zion played last night. 22 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, but his Pelicans took a 104-97 home loss from the T-Wolves. Head coach Willie Green on having Zion in the mix for now.
It was great to see him on the floor. A little bit of rust, which is to be expected, but he was tremendous. His gravity allows guys to get open shots, and he'll continue to get better from here.
Zion missed 27 games with a left hamstring strain. His next absence is TBD.
Sorry, there's like a gravity thing with his
I know. I left that one alone.
Listen, I mean, Willie Green said it, not me.
They're, by the way, in the mix for the number 1 pick. You had Cooper Flagg, Zion Williamson. We got something.
A lot of average dunks.
Mm-hmm.
According to Perloff.
Yeah. Trae Young hit from half court at the buzzer for a 124-121 Hawks win in Utah. The Mavs beat the Lakers 118-97. Still, without Luka and Kyrie, the Nuggets didn't have a sick Nikola Jokic, so they lost at home to the Celtics 118-106. And the Suns lost in Charlotte 115-104, allowing those Hornets to end their 10-game skid. Bradley Beal, 10 points, 5 assists in his second game since being demoted to the Phoenix bench. His agent said yesterday there have been no trade talks with anybody. Phoenix has not asked Beal about waiving his no-trade clause.
Wait, so you're saying it's hard to trade a over-the-hill player who's making $55 million a year for the next 3 years? That's hard?
Also,
concept.
Can we just, people, I've been saying all along, good numbers on a bad team are very confusing in the NBA. If you score 28 points a game in Washington, do not pay that guy $100 million a year, whatever he makes.
Sorry, Jordan Poole.
I feel like I called him the world be free of this generation, and I have not been more right about a basketball take ever.
That's a very old school take. I think most people, I barely know what you're talking about.
Manny's got no shot.
Yeah.
UCLA head coach
I know
Mick
ball.
Cronin thinks of his Bruins what Pearl thinks of that Cooper Flag dunk.
It's really hard to coach people that are delusional. The hungry dog gets the bone. We got guys that think they're way better than they are. They're nice kids. They're completely delusional about who they are.
Cronin said that last night after his 22nd ranked team lost at home to number 24 Michigan 94-75.
I'd love to know why they're delusional. Is it because Mick Cronin maybe came into their living room once upon a time and said, I can turn you into an NBA player? Maybe the coach said that. He may have said that.
Yeah. He also said last night that he has more energy than everybody, including his assistants. And he doesn't need to try because he almost has 500 wins at 52 years old, but he's trying and nobody else is.
Man, right out of the John Wooden playbook right there. Like, this couldn't be further from Wooden.
This is the start of conference play as well. Crashed out after that rivalry between UCLA and Michigan, man. It goes back years.
I'm just blaming the weather. They went to Michigan, it got real cold, and then
were they playing outside?
Cronin, I don't know. But
no, this game was in LA. That's why he's so upset. They had weather on their side.
It's even worse.
I love you're talking about the weather advantage in an indoor basketball game. How could I have not thought of that?
Look, that's basically why I blame that Miami loss. They just stepped off the bus against Syracuse at the end of the season, and even though they went into a dome, they still didn't show up.
You know who was going to play at UCLA but never ended up playing there, I don't think?
LiAngelo Ball.
LiAngelo Ball.
The rapper of our generation.
That was a cue for you to play the song we all love so much.
I'm surprised you could even find 15 seconds of that didn't have a curse word in it.
Took a lot of research.
All right, I was double checking. Like, he never actually, did he ever play a game at UCLA? I was trying to.
No, he did because they were weren't they on a trip to China when he stole the sunglasses?
I think that was preseason, though.
Oh.
I'm not sure.
I don't think he ever played there.
Also, was it China? I don't remember. Actually.
I think you're right. No,
it was definitely in China that
Okay.
they got arrested, but no, he did not play, I believe, at UCLA.
Yeah, because I was just looking at his stats, and the first one is from a country I've never even heard of. So.
Lithuania?
I just can't. I would never steal something, obviously, so I'm not, I can't really imagine this, but I can't imagine the level of anxiety attack I would have if I was ever arrested in China.
No, that was a bad scene.
I'd be a puddle.
Of the many things that happened to the Ball family, that was not a high point.
I can't imagine being arrested in this country, let alone a foreign country. No way.
The names of these teams that LiAngelo Ball played for, he played for Prenai in Lithuania.
Hey,
the Los Angeles Ballers, which I assume has something to do with Big Baller Brand. He then played for the Greensboro Swarm. I believe that's the G League team for the Hornets.
Yeah.
And then the Astros
de Jalisco, baby. That's the Mexican League. Don't disrespect the Mexican League. Yes, LiAngelo Ball. Here's the thing about LiAngelo Ball in the Mexican League with the Astros de Jalisco. He played about 2 or 3 games, and then he hurt his foot or something like that, and then left Mexico.
And now he's rapping.
Can I say one thing?
Swerving in the corner.
The Los Angeles Ballers, not only was the team founded by his father, the whole league was founded by his father.
Wait, Manny, who runs the Jalisco? Is it Eduardo Nahara, or is that too much on the nose?
I have no idea who runs that team. I follow them on Instagram, though.
Sorry, one more thing. Los Angeles Ballers beat the Seattle Ballers in the final.
They're all named the Ballers?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Was it ball like all capitals, BALL, and then ERS,
not
lowercase?
according to Wikipedia.
I think it's Ballers with a Z.
This Bryant thing doesn't work out. We know what LeBron's going to do. He's taking this blueprint.
Start a league.
The Los Angeles Bronze, starring Bronny James.
The J League.
It kind of reminds me. It reminds me of like when George Foreman named all of his kids George. You name all the teams in the league the Ballers.
There's going to be an amazing documentary on the ball. Like the next generation who wasn't there for it will be like, this never happened.
A great debate. Was this a figment of our imagination?
Yes, it's a little bit like that made-up high school that got killed and everything. What was it?
Bishop Sycamore.
Yeah, on steroids.
BS High.
That'd be a good, great debate. Who's the best ball?
Oof, that's a tough one. I mean, LeVar never lost. So.
Or who are the best ballers of the ball league?
I mean, LeVar would have taken MJ to the hole and taken him out.
That's right.
Yeah, according to him. His word against nobody. Thank you, DJ Stewart, Manny Rodriguez. Thank you to Andrew Bogusch, Andrew Kaplan, to Josh Pate, who joined us, to Amy Trask, who joined us, the Weedos and the Coffee Drinkers, the callers. Y'all are awesome. We got college football playoff game tomorrow. Join us for a big breakdown then. See you.
You're in a 5-minute break.